Chapter 802. This time, the people in the cabin were dumbfounded. They saw that the person holding the gun was the middle-aged uncle who was smiling just a moment ago. At this moment, he had turned into a ferocious demon. Jared was so scared that he almost peed his pants. He just wanted to show off his wealth. How could he attract robbers on the plane? How did he bring his pistol on the plane? The beautiful stewardess was stunned for a moment. Then she reached out to press the alarm button next to her, but a big hand grabbed her wrist. "Don't move, or I'll kill you." It was a passenger sitting in the front row who stopped her. Then several people stood up one after another in the cabin, all with pistols in their hands. The black muzzles were pointed at the passengers in the cabin. Chin Haodong and Shi Yumi were both shocked. They didn't expect that almost half of the passengers in the first-class cabin were robbers. The middle-aged man was the leader of these people. He held a gun against Jared's head with one hand and slapped his big hairy face with the other. "Didn't you just say that you were very rich? Take it out now, or I'll blow your head off." Jared cried in a trembling voice, "Don't mess around. I'm a member of the Jared family. If you offend me, you won't be able to survive in M country. Do you want to die? How dare you scare me at this time?" The middle-aged man punched Jared's nose hard, and blood splashed everywhere. "I'm a hijacker. This plane is about to change its route. Do you think we'll go to M country to die? I'm not afraid of your bullshit Jared family." Chin Haodong originally wanted to subdue these robbers, but he was very happy to see Jared being taught a lesson by them, so he didn't rush to do it. Evil people will be tortured by evil people. He had just shown off his wealth, and now he got his retribution after being robbed. "Don't do it. I'll pay you," Jared said as he hurriedly handed over the limited edition Prada in his hand. The middle-aged man took it and opened the zipper. There were 20 neat stacks of US dollars in it. It seemed that the bearded man didn't lie about this. The middle-aged man took out a bank card and handed it to Jared. "Transfer 30 million to this card. If you don't give me 1 cent, I'll turn your head into a rotten watermelon immediately." Gerard was a little dumbfounded. Although there was 30 million US dollars in his card, it was not pocket money as he said. It was a project investment fund given to him by his family. Originally, he came to Huaxia to discuss investment, but he did not succeed. If he lost this money, he would definitely be punished by his family when he returned. Seeing Gerard's hesitation, the middle-aged man suddenly became unhappy. He reached out and grabbed Gerard's beard. Gerard let out a blood-curdling scream, and his bearded face was now covered with blood. "I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you right now." Gerard had been spoiled since he was a child and had never been tortured like this. He quickly took out his mobile phone and began to transfer money to the bank card in his hand. Seeing him take out his phone, the stewardess professionally stopped him. "Sir, you are not allowed to use your phone during the flight. Otherwise, it will be very dangerous, dangerous my ass. If you continue to disturb our boss, I'll beat you to death right now." The big robber next to her immediately pointed the pistol in his hand at the air stewardess's head. The air stewardess was so scared that her beautiful face turned pale and she no longer dared to speak. "What's going on?" The captain found the abnormality in the cabin. As soon as he poked his head out of the cockpit, he was dragged in by the big robber. The robber shouted fiercely, "Behave yourselves, or I'll shoot you all one by one." Seeing the ferocity of the robber, the other passengers in the cabin shuddered and no one dared to make a sound. Soon, Gerard transferred all the $30 million into the card. The middle-aged man was very satisfied with his performance. He patted him on the cheek and said, "Sit here obediently. I'll rob you of your money, not your life. But if you don't behave yourself, I don't mind shooting you." "Behave, I'll behave myself." Gerard hurriedly sat back in his seat. The middle-aged man stepped out. After looking around, he fixed his eyes on Shi Yumi. "Little girl, you're too coquettish. Not only the bearded foreigner has taken a fancy to you, but I've also taken a fancy to you. Anyway, we still have a long flight ahead of us. Why don't we do it first? Then he pointed the pistol at Shiyumi, pointed to the bathroom next to him, and said, "Go in now and let me have a good time. Then I'll consider letting you go." Seeing that this guy was staring at her, Shiyumi was so scared that her face turned pale. She held Shin Haodong's arm and said nervously, "Don't do this. Please let me go. I can give you as much money as you want." Shin Haodong looked calm, but he was not in a hurry to make a move. He had just counted that there were 5 robbers in the first-class cabin. He didn't know if there were any in the economy class, so he had to seize the opportunity to make a move. Otherwise, it was easy to cause casualties. "I want to rob you of your money, but also your sex." A greedy look flashed across the middle-aged man's face. "It's the first time in my life that I've seen such a beautiful girl like you. Cut the crap and go there." "No, I can't do this." Shiyumi was so scared that she trembled all over. She held Shin Haodong's arm tightly, her full chest pressed tightly against Shin Haodong's arm. "You're courting death. Are you pretending to be innocent in front of me?" The middle-aged man raised his pistol and said fiercely, "Don't think that I don't know what's going on with you. I saw it just now. You met this toy boy here by chance. You're not a couple at all." Shiyumi said, "No, it's really not. I've liked him for a long time. He once saved my life, and I fell in love with him since then. Although he doesn't know it, in my heart, he has always been my boyfriend. He's the man I've chosen in this life." Shin Haodong was slightly surprised. He knew that Shiyumi had a good impression of him, but he didn't expect it to be to this extent. However, he was not sure whether Shiyumi was sincere or just saying it to protect her innocence. The middle-aged man obviously didn't believe her either. "Stop pretending, you be *tch. Keep pretending." Shiyumi said, "No, I really didn't. I really love him very much." "Well, since you like him so much, I'll kill him now." As the middle-aged man spoke, he raised the gun in his hand and pointed it at Shin Haodong. "No, please don't." In a moment of desperation, Shiyumi turned over and threw herself on Shin Haodong, protecting him tightly. Shin Haodong had just found an opportunity and was about to use silver needles to hit the robber's acupoints, but Shiyumi threw herself at him. It seemed that she was protecting him, but in fact, she was protecting the 5 robbers, so that he couldn't do anything. "Little girl, I didn't know that you valued this toy boy so much." The middle-aged man said with a sinister smile, "Since you care so much about him, I'll give you a choice. Either go to the bathroom and take off your pants and wait for me, or I'll kill him now." Shiyumi said pitifully, I can give you money. I can give you a lot of money. Please let us go. Normally speaking, I like money, but you're so seductive. If I don't *CKU, how can I be a man in the future?" The middle-aged man's face changed and he said with a murderous look, "Cut the crap. I don't have time to waste on you. I'll count from 10 to 1. If you don't make a decision, I'll shoot him." 10, 9, 8, 7, as the middle-aged man gave the order, Shiyumi burst into tears, and her delicate cheeks were covered with tears. "Haodong, it seems that we can only be together in the next life." She held Shin Haodong's cheek and kissed him hard. Her tears kept flowing and wetted Shin Haodong's face. 3, 2, 1, speaking of this, the middle-aged man pulled the sleeve with a click and loaded the bullet. "No, I'll listen to you." Shiyumi looked at Shin Haodong with great reluctance. Then, she got up from his body and walked to the door of the bathroom. Although it was not far, it was extremely difficult for her to walk. The big man in front of her shouted, "Boss, this little girl is really seductive. When you're done, let's have a good time, of course. You're all my brothers. Of course, we'll share the good stuff." After that, the two of them laughed together. Shiyumi's body trembled, but she did not stop. She continued to walk forward until she reached the door of the bathroom. She pushed the door open, looked back at Shin Haodong with great reluctance, and was about to walk in. "Shiyumi. At this moment, Qin Haodong stopped her. Although he used to call her sister, he called her name this time. For some reason, Shi Yumi felt that the distance between them had shortened a lot. Seeing that this girl was willing to make such a great sacrifice for him, he felt warm in his heart and was filled with an inexplicable emotion. He said firmly, "Come back. As long as I'm here, no one can touch you. Haodong, don't worry about me. Don't do anything. They will kill you." Shi Yumi said with tears in her eyes, "You saved my life last time. Now it's my duty to return it to you. Live a good life in the future. No need. I'm a man. I don't need a woman to protect me. I saved you last time, and I can do the same this time." Qin Haodong's voice was not loud, but it was sonorous and full of confidence. "Boy, you're really courting death. Since you want to die, I'll send you to hell now." The middle-aged man was standing next to him. When he heard that Qin Haodong dared to stop him, he immediately raised his pistol and pointed it at Qin Haodong's head. He was about to pull the trigger with his index finger. But at this moment, he felt the pistol in his hand was suddenly in Qin Haodong's hand, and then it was pressed against the middle-aged man's temple. Qin Haodong got up and grabbed the gun. His movements were smooth. He locked the middle-aged man's neck with his left arm and pressed the pistol against his head with his right hand. "Tell your men to throw away the guns, or I'll turn your head into a rotten watermelon now." The middle-aged man trembled with fear. He didn't expect that the words he had just threatened Gerard would be used on him in the blink of an eye. He hurriedly shouted, "Put down the guns. Put them down now." The men in the cabin heard his order and slowly put down the guns in their hands. But at this moment, the big man shouted, "Brothers, don't put down the guns, or we'll die. The boss can be replaced at any time, but we only have one life. Let's kill them, and all the wealth on the plain will be ours." Hearing the big man's encouragement, the gunman, who had put down the pistols, raised them again. The big man suddenly pointed the gun in his hand at Qin Haodong and was about to shoot. But at this moment, a small red dot suddenly appeared between his eyebrows. Then his arm that was holding the gun softened and he fell to the ground with a thud. Chapter 803. Qin Haodong killed the big robber with silver needles and then shot 3 silver needles into the other 3 robbers' veins. The 3 robbers suddenly felt numb and weak, and the guns in their hands all fell to the ground. Seeing that they had no guns in their hands, the captain immediately led the passengers next to him to press all the 3 robbers to the ground. In just a few seconds, all 5 robbers were subdued. Qin Haodong took a rope from the captain and tied the middle-aged robber firmly. At this time, Shi Yumi, who had been standing next to him, came to her senses as if she had just woken up from a dream. Thinking of the scene just now, she couldn't help blushing. She came to the middle-aged robber and kicked him hard in the crotch. "Bastard, how dare you hit on me?" The middle-aged robber screamed. He seemed to have heard the sound of his balls breaking. Even if he didn't spend the rest of his life in prison, he would never be a man again. Qin Haodong pulled another robber over and asked directly with mind manipulating, "How many people are there in total? Are there any accomplices in the economy class?" The robber said, "No, there are only 5 of us. Our plan is to rob the first-class cabin first because the people in the first-class cabin are all rich. Then we will hijack the plane and fly to a small island near M country. We prepared a speedboat there and left directly after robbing all the passengers." Hearing that the robbers had no accomplices, the people in the cabin breathed a sigh of relief. The captain was a big white man. He came over and said to Qin Haodong, "Mr. Qin, it's all thanks to you this time. Otherwise, we would have been finished." "Thank you." Qin Haodong said, "They're just a few little robbers. It's nothing." The captain said, "No, it's you who saved so many of us. We have to thank you. I've already contacted the headquarters of our company. From now on, you will be a supreme member of our company. You can enjoy the first-class cabin on the plane and you don't have to pay any fees." Qin Haodong nodded slightly. Although he was very rich, this treatment was also good. At this time, there was a warm applause in the cabin. Everyone was full of gratitude to Qin Haodong, except for the bearded Gerard, who looked at Qin Haodong with resentment in his eyes. In his opinion, if it weren't for Qin Haodong and Shi Yumi, he wouldn't have flaunted his wealth in the cabin, let alone become the first target of the robbers. If Qin Haodong had taken action earlier, his $30 million would not have been forcibly transferred. He came to the captain and said, "Captain, the robbers have been subdued. Can I get my money back?" The captain said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Gerard. We have to hand over the money seized from them to the police. We don't have the authority to handle it. Your plane is too unsafe. I'll file a complaint later." Gerard said angrily, but he had no choice but to return to his seat. Shi Yumi sat down next to Qin Haodong again. She looked at him shyly and said in a low voice, "You saved me again. How can I thank you?" Qin Haodong said, "It's nothing. I should protect you. Didn't you just sacrifice yourself to protect me?" Thinking of what had just happened, Shi Yumi's cheeks were so red that blood seemed to drip out. She shyly leaned her face on Qin Haodong's shoulder. After a while, she calmed down a little and said, "How do you think these abominable robbers brought guns on the plane?" Qin Haodong said, "The devil is 10 times stronger than the righteous. They have been scheming all day long, so they must have their own ways. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many hijackings. But this is not a problem we should consider. Let the police of M country deal with it." After this incident, the flight was very smooth. Near evening, their plane landed at the airport of City N of M country. When the plane landed, the sky was already gloomy. It seemed that a storm was coming. After the plane stopped, the police immediately rushed into the cabin and took the 5 robbers away. The bearded Gerard also went to the police station with the police. He was eager to get back his $30 million. It was a lot of money. If he lost it like this, he would definitely be punished by his family. Qin Haodong and Shi Yumi walked out of the airport together. Originally, Qin Haodong wanted to take a taxi to find a hotel by himself, but Shi Yumi forced him to get in the car driven by her assistant. Because Liusu Clothing often had business in City N of M country, their company rented an apartment here. When their car arrived at the apartment building, it had already begun to rain and the sky was gloomy. Qin Haodong helped Shi Yumi carry the suitcase and sent her to the room. This was an apartment with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. The room was decorated in warm colors, which made people feel very warm. Qin Haodong put down the suitcase and said, "Okay, I'm leaving." Shi Yumi took his arm and said with a reluctant look, "Where are you going? Have you found a hotel?" Qin Haodong shook his head. He came in a hurry and hadn't had time to book a hotel. "It doesn't matter. There are many hotels here. I'll just find one." Shi Yumi said, "It's very troublesome to find a hotel in such a heavy rain, and the hotels in City N are very expensive. Although I know you don't care about money, I have enough rooms here. You can live here." Qin Haodong hesitated for a moment and said, "That's not good, is it?" Shi Yumi said, "What's wrong with that? You've saved me twice. You're my great benefactor. You deserve to live in my house. Besides, after what happened today, I'm really a little scared to live here alone. If you don't stay with me, I'm afraid I'll have nightmares all night." Qin Haodong thought for a moment and didn't insist. "Well, I'll bother you." "Not at all. I'm happy to live with you." Seeing that Qin Haodong agreed to stay with her, Shi Yumi immediately became like a happy bird. She found slippers for him and then helped him take off his suit jacket. She asked Qin Haodong to sit on the sofa in the living room, then turned on the TV opposite him and made him a cup of coffee. "Sit here and rest for a while. Watch TV. I'm going to take a shower. I'm exhausted after a whole day's flight," Shi Yumi said and went into the bathroom with a white pajamas. Qin Haodong drank coffee while watching TV. A variety show was playing on the TV, but but he was not familiar with the film and television culture of M country and didn't care about the so-called film and television stars. After watching for a while, he felt it was boring, so he took the remote control and began to change the channel. After changing several programs in succession, the picture suddenly changed. Two naked figures appeared on the screen, and the sound coming from the TV also became extremely ambiguous. Qin Haodong was startled. The two people on the screen were naked. This was a pornographic film that could only be found in China with a lot of effort. He had long heard that some European and American TV stations would broadcast adult programs. Today, he finally saw it with his own eyes. Looking at the picture opposite him and hearing the sound of running water coming from the bathroom, he couldn't help thinking of Shiyumi's beautiful face and sexy figure. His body felt hot. No matter what, it was not appropriate to watch a pornographic film with a beautiful woman beside him. He quickly changed the channel. The result made him even more speechless. This was still an adult program, but the two people on the screen had become three. I'd better not watch it. He quickly turned off the TV. At this moment, a bolt of lightning suddenly flashed across the cloudy sky, followed by deafening thunder. Ah! As soon as the thunder sounded, Shiyumi let out a scream in the bathroom. Then, she rushed out of the bathroom and threw herself into Qin Haodong's arms. Originally, she was wrapped in a bath towel, but after such a toss, the bath towel slipped off, and her whole body was exposed to Qin Haodong's sight. Her charming collarbone, sexy back curve, high buttocks, and slender thighs were all enough to drive any normal man crazy. But Qin Haodong could clearly feel that Shiyumi was in extreme fear at this time. Her body had been trembling slightly. He was a little confused. Isn't it just thunder? Is it so scary? If he hadn't felt Shiyumi's fear from the bottom of her heart, he would really think that this woman was seducing him. It was not appropriate to hold a beautiful woman naked like this. He was just about to push Shiyumi away, but at this time, the thunder outside the window rang out one after another. Shiyumi let out another scream, her voice full of fear. She hugged him tightly with her two arms, so that he could feel the fullness of her breasts more clearly. What's wrong with you? I'm scared, I'm really scared. Please hold me, okay? As she spoke, Shiyumi's body kept trembling. She closed her eyes tightly, looking extremely terrified. She was so adorable that people would feel sorry for her. Qin Haodong had no choice but to hold her in his arms. When his palm touched her smooth back, he couldn't help but feel restless. In the dead of night, he was guarding a beautiful woman in the same room. It was such a special scene. It would be abnormal if he didn't have any thoughts. He injected the greenwood genuine qi into Shiyumi's body to help her relax her stiff muscles. Then he said, "What's going on? You're an adult. Why are you afraid of thunder?" Holding Qin Haodong tightly and feeling his strong arms, Shiyumi seemed to relax a little. She whispered in his ear, "I used to have a very happy family. My parents loved me very much. But when I was 5 years old, it was also a night like this. It was windy, raining, and there was terrible thunder. Suddenly, 2 robbers rushed into my house. My parents hid me under the bed, but they were all brutally killed by the robbers. I saw the scene clearly. I was so scared that I didn't dare to cry. Since then, I have been very scared every night when there is thunder." He didn't expect that the woman in front of him would have such a miserable childhood. Qin Haodong patted her on the back and comforted her, "It's okay. I'm here. Don't be afraid. Okay." Shiyumi nodded gently, which did ease some of her fear. She added, "I've been living alone all these years. Every night when there is thunder, I will curl up in the corner of the bed in fear, turn on all the lights, and turn the volume of the TV to the maximum. I only dare to sleep when the thunder is over." Qin Haodong picked her up, put her on the bed, and pulled the quilt over her. At this time, Shiyumi found that her bath towel had slipped off. Suddenly, a blush rushed to her cheeks, diluting the fear in her heart a lot. At this time, another thunder sounded. She hurriedly reached out to grab Qin Haodong's arm in fear. Don't leave me, okay? In desperation, Qin Haodong could only go to bed and hold Shiyumi and the quilt in his arms. Shiyumi leaned her head on his shoulder and murmured, if only I could always have you. Qin Haodong said, since you are so afraid, why don't you find a boyfriend? An outstanding woman like you must have many pursuers, right? Chapter 804. Shiyumi said, you're right. There are indeed many men pursuing me. Some are handsome, some are young and rich, and some are successful in their careers, but I don't like any of them. Qin Haodong said, aren't you asking too much? Shiyumi said, in fact, I don't have a high standard for choosing a boyfriend. The only one is that he can bring me a sense of security. But none of them can do that. These people are either more effeminate than me, or they covet my beauty or my money. In short, they make me feel very insecure. When I'm with them, I'm always worried that one day I'll get old and have no money. Then they'll leave me immediately. Qin Haodong said, are you too suspicious? If it goes on like this, you won't be able to get married. There was a time when I also wondered if my criteria for choosing a spouse were wrong, and if there was no man in the world who could catch my eye. Speaking of this, Shiyumi suddenly raised her head, looked straight at Qin Haodong, and said, but since I met you that day, I know that I don't have high standards, but I haven't met the right person. The moment I saw you, my heart felt incomparably at ease. This was something I had never felt before. That night, I didn't sleep at all and rushed to make that set of clothes for you. I knew that I was hopelessly in love with you. Qin Haodong said, but as you can see, I already have many girlfriends. It's very unfair to you. I thought so too at that time, so I went back after giving you the suit. These days, I've been doing one thing, which is to try to forget you. But it's too difficult. I've worked hard for so many days, but your shadow in my mind is getting clearer and clearer. Maybe God doesn't want me to forget you, so he arranged for us to meet again today. Qin Haodong didn't speak. In this situation, he really couldn't find the right words to say. Shiyumi's face showed a trace of intoxication. When the robbers forced me, I knew how important you were to me. I could sacrifice everything and even die for you. When you subdued those robbers and survived the disaster, I had another realization. I think it's good to be like this. As long as I can be with you, everything else doesn't matter, including your girlfriends. You're so outstanding. If they can accept each other, why can't I? Qin Haodong said, don't be too impulsive. Think about it carefully. There's no need to think about it anymore. You're the person I've been looking for my entire life. If I lose you, I'll lose everything. Speaking of this, Shiyumi reached out and lifted the quilt on her. Haodong, take me. I'm willing to be your woman. She was mature, sexy, beautiful, and charming. She had all the advantages of a woman. No man would be able to resist this kind of temptation. Qin Haodong had always been amazed by Shiyumi's beauty and seductiveness, but for some reason, he always felt a faint uneasiness in his heart. He had never felt this way with other women before. It was precisely because of this uneasiness that he finally suppressed the impulse in his heart. He pulled the quilt over again and covered the tempting scenery in front of him. I still think this is too hasty. Think about it carefully. There was a flash of disappointment in Shiyumi's eyes, and then she said, do you dislike me? Actually, I've been alone for so many years. I've never liked anyone else, and I've never looked for any man. If you don't believe me, you can give it a try. It's really my first time. That's not what I mean, Qin Haodong said, it doesn't matter whether it's your first time or not. I just want you to think about it carefully. But I've already thought it through. I don't care how many women you have. As long as you can really treat me well, that's enough. Shiyumi, calm down. Qin Haodong said, in fact, it's only the second time we've met. How about this? Don't be too impulsive. Let's give each other some time, okay? Do you think I'm not beautiful enough? No, you're very beautiful, and I'm attracted to you. Then why are you doing this to me? Shiyumi said pitifully. I don't mean anything else. I just think this is too hasty. I'm afraid you'll regret it in the future. Well, Shiyumi said, but I want you to sleep with me in your arms tonight. Well, Qin Haodong was a little hesitant. He couldn't do anything to such a beautiful woman. It was not an enjoyment, but a kind of torture. Why? Don't you want to? I think you just dislike me. After saying that, Shiyumi's eyes turned red again. No, I promise you, okay? That's more like it. A happy smile flashed across Shiyumi's face, and then she said, don't call me sister in the future. That will remind me that I'm older than you. And don't call me by my name. That will make us seem distant. Qin Haodong said, then what should I call you? Shiyumi said, when I was a child, my parents called me Xiaomi. You can also call me Xiaomi. Qin Haodong said with a smile, that's a good name, but it seems to be a mobile phone brand. Shiyumi pressed her cheek against his chest and murmured, if only I had a mobile phone. I would always be by your side and would never be abandoned by you. In the face of such an emotional confession, Qin Haodong did not say anything. From the bottom of his heart, he also liked this beautiful, sexy, smart and charming woman very much. But for some reason, there was always a touch of uneasiness in his heart. After a tiring day, the two soon fell asleep. The next day, the clouds dispersed and the sun rose. The golden sunlight shone into the room through the large floor-to-ceiling window. When Qin Haodong opened his eyes, Shiyumi was wearing a white nightgown and an apron with a Mickey Mouse pattern on her chest. She was busy in the kitchen, looking like a little wife preparing breakfast for her husband. Get up, Haodong. I'm sorry about last night. Seeing Qin Haodong walk out of the room, Shiyumi said with a red face. Qin Haodong smiled and said, it's nothing. Shiyumi said, hurry up and wash your face and eat. Try the breakfast I made. After washing up, Qin Haodong sat at the table. The breakfast was not much, but it looked very exquisite. There were steak, fried eggs, milk, and bread. It was a typical Western breakfast. He cut a piece of steak, put it into his mouth, and slowly chewed. Shiyumi asked nervously, how is it? Is the steak I made delicious? It's delicious. It's even better than the chef in the hotel. I didn't expect you to have such good cooking skills. Qin Haodong couldn't help nodding. This was not a simple compliment. Shiyumi's cooking was really good. Receiving the praise of her beloved, Shiyumi's beautiful big eyes turned into crescents with a smile. I grew up alone, so I naturally have to learn how to cook. Otherwise, my stomach will suffer. After breakfast, Shiyumi put the bowls and chopsticks into the dishwasher and said, I'm going to work. What's your plan today? By the way, I haven't asked you yet. What do you want to do in M country? I'm here to investigate the Chinese medicine market here. I'm going to open Tangmen Pharmaceutical Company here. Qin Haodong told her about the task that Lin Momo gave him, but he didn't mention anything about the alien demons and Angel Pharmaceutical. Oh. Shiyumi said, I've stayed in M country for a long time. Except for the people in Chinatown, the people here don't agree with Chinese medicine very much. Especially the government of M country, those who are used to Western medicine are very resistant to Chinese medicine. I'm afraid it will be very difficult for you to build a Chinese medicine factory here. Qin Haodong said, I know that, but I have to give it a try. Shiyumi stepped forward, took his arm and said intimately, no matter what, I will support you. This fashion week only lasts for 7 days. I wanted to go back after it was over, but if you stay in M country, I'll stay with you. Qin Haodong said, that's not a good idea. I don't know how long I'll stay in M country. It will affect your domestic business. It doesn't matter. Business is nothing more than making money, but no matter how much money I make, it's not as important as you. Shiyumi said with a smile, it's best if you can stay in M country for the rest of your life. I'll stay here with you for the rest of my life. Qin Haodong reached out and pinched her delicate little nose. Well, go to work, or you'll be late. I'll go out and see if there's a suitable opportunity. Okay, let's go together. Shi Yumi locked the door and walked out with Qin Haodong. They didn't part with each other until they got downstairs. Watching her sexy and enchanting body get into the car, Qin Haodong frowned slightly. She was an innocent girl who was sincere to him, but why did he feel that he couldn't see through her? Shi Yumi got into the car sent by her assistant. She rolled down the window and waved at Qin Haodong, then gradually drove away. Qin Haodong shook his head. Maybe he was thinking too much. He put this idea aside for the time being and began to think about what he should do next. The purpose of this trip to M country was to find the headquarters of Angel Pharmaceutical and rescue the Sun family. But when he got there, he didn't know where to start. Thinking of the Chinatown that Shi Yumi mentioned, he decided to go to Chinatown first since it was a place where traditional Chinese medicine was more accepted. He took a taxi and went straight to Chinatown. After getting out of the car, he had to admire the greatness of the Huaxia people. They could survive and reproduce in any corner of the earth and live a good life. Chinatown was full of yellow-skinned and black-eyed Huaxia people, which made him feel like he was back in Huaxia. He walked along the street, feeling the prosperity around him. As he was walking, he suddenly saw a group of people gathering in front of him, surrounding a shop. There was a quaint plaque hanging on the shop, with the words, Tai Clinic of Traditional Chinese Medicine, written in square Huaxia characters. This was the first clinic of traditional Chinese medicine he had seen in M country. It seemed that something had happened. Out of concern for traditional Chinese medicine, he walked over. In the clinic, a young man in his 30s was shouting at a girl in her 20s. Both of them were Huaxia people and they were speaking in Huaxia language. The young man shouted angrily, "What kind of clinic is this? I just had a cough and wanted to take some medicine from you, but my cough was not cured. Instead, I had diarrhea all night. I was almost dried up." The people around also shouted, "How can you run a clinic? How could you treat her like this? I've been to Tai Clinic of Traditional Chinese Medicine before. The medical skills here are very good. They cured my old stomach disease in a week. How could this happen? Isn't there an old doctor in Tai Clinic of Traditional Chinese Medicine? Old doctors are more reliable in traditional Chinese medicine. This little girl can't do it." The little girl in the clinic was very delicate and pretty. With a pair of braids behind her head, she looked very pure. Hearing the discussions around her and looking at the young man who was glaring at her, she said nervously, "I'm sorry, brother. I didn't know this would happen. I'm really sorry. It's my fault. How about I pay you some money?" Chapter 805. The young man said aggressively, "I'll pay you 1 million yuan. I'll tear down the sign of your clinic if you give me 1 million yuan less." The little girl was shocked and exclaimed, 1 million yuan? Brother, I can't do that. My master is not at home. How can I have so much money? If you don't have money, I'll tear down the sign of your clinic. The young man seemed to be prepared. He held a steel pipe more than 1 meter long in his hand and was about to smash the sign on the top of the door. The little girl hurried forward to stop him. "Brother, you can't smash this sign. It's my master's painstaking efforts. I don't care. It's useless to keep a harmful clinic like yours." The middle-aged man, who had brought 2 helpers, turned around and shouted, "Stop her. I'll smash her clinic today." The 2 men stepped forward to stop the little girl. The young man raised the steel pipe in his hand again and was about to smash the sign of Tai Traditional Chinese Medicine Clinic. Although there were many onlookers, they were just watching the fun and did not step forward to stop him. At this moment, a strong hand grabbed the steel pipe in the young man's hand. "Brother, we're all from Huaxia. It's not easy to make a living. There's no need to be so cruel, is there?" It was Qin Haodong who did it. As a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, he could not watch this man smash the clinic. The young man turned around and looked at Qin Haodong from head to toe. He shouted angrily, "Boy, who are you? Why do you care about me?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Brother, I'm also a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. In fact, you don't have to be so angry. It's just seeing a doctor. I'll heal you, won't it?" Hearing this, the people around immediately became noisy. Who is this young man? He looks a few years younger than the little girl. Can he cure diseases? I don't think so. Although traditional Chinese medicine is great, it needs to be old. This kind of young man is still unreliable. The young man said, "You can cure me? I can't trust you. Yesterday, the medicine prescribed by this clinic almost killed me. If I trust you again, you'll kill me." Qin Haodong said, "Brother, I don't need to prescribe medicine. I just need acupuncture. And if I can't cure your disease, I will immediately pay you 1 million yuan on behalf of the clinic." The young man was taken aback. He just said those words out of anger. He didn't expect the clinic to compensate him 1 million yuan. After all, it was just diarrhea. It didn't cause too much damage. He just wanted to smash the signboard of the clinic. "Little brother, you're not playing with me, are you?" Qin Haodong said, "Of course not. Give me 20 minutes. If I can't cure you by then, you can not only destroy the clinic's brand, but I will also pay you 1 million yuan." The young man thought for a moment and felt that he would not suffer any loss, so he said, "Well, I'll believe you this time. Everyone is watching. If you can't cure my disease, you have to compensate me 1 million yuan." Qin Haodong walked into the Tai traditional Chinese medicine clinic and sat directly in front of the consultation desk. He first felt the young man's pulse, and then said, "Brother, do you have the prescription for the stomachache? Can I have a look?" "I have it with me." The young man brought the prescription as evidence. He took it out of his pocket and put it on the table. The little girl was stunned. She didn't know where this handsome young man came from, but it seemed that he was helping her, so she didn't say anything. Qin Haodong glanced at the prescription and then said, "Brother, in fact, there's nothing wrong with this prescription. Its function is to clear the air and regulate the lungs. It's also symptomatic for your cough." The young man's expression changed. "Little brother, what do you mean? Don't tell me I'm being unreasonable." Qin Haodong said, "Brother, don't get excited. Listen to me. The mistake of her prescription is that she sticks to the rules and doesn't prescribe medicine according to your constitution. If I'm not mistaken, your constitution belongs to the cold constitution. Your yang qi is weaker than that of ordinary people, so that your stomach and intestines are not good. You're afraid of cold and you don't even dare to drink cold water, right?" "Yes, yes, yes. I've been afraid of cold for many years. My stomach and intestines have always been bad. As long as I eat something cold, I will have diarrhea. But this time it's too serious. It's killing me." Seeing that Qin Haodong spoke clearly and logically, the young man also trusted him a little more. Qin Haodong said, "It doesn't matter, brother. It's just a small problem. As long as I give you a few needles, you'll be cured in a while." Then he took out the silver needles from his pocket and began to give the young man acupuncture. He first pierced the Feishu acupoint, Chanzhong acupoint and other major acupoints on the young man's chest. It was amazing. As soon as the silver needles were pierced, the middle-aged man's cough immediately stopped. Then, Qin Haodong transferred the greenwood genuine qi into the man's body through the silver needles, eliminating the cold in his body and helping him to sort out the blocked stomach and meridians. 10 minutes later, Qin Haodong took back the silver needles. "Brother, feel it. Are you better?" The young man felt warm in his chest, as if there was a sun in it. He had never felt this way before. Now, not only was his cough cured, but his stomach and abdomen also felt very comfortable. "Little doctor, your medical skills are really amazing. I've seen many doctors for my fear of cold, but they couldn't do anything about it. I didn't expect you to cure it so soon." Qin Haodong said with a smile, since you're cured, let's forget about what happened today. Okay, little brother, I'll give you face today and let it go. Otherwise, I'll smash this clinic. After that, he left the clinic with the two men. The people gathered at the door saw that there was nothing to see, so they all dispersed. The little girl came over and said, "Little brother, thank you so much. If it weren't for your help, I really don't know what to do today." When the little girl said this, her eyes turned red and she almost shed tears. Qin Haodong said, "Did you write that prescription?" "Yes, I did. According to what you said just now, it was my bad diagnosis. I didn't take his constitution into account when I wrote the prescription." The little girl said again, "Little brother, but I think you're too risky. If that person doesn't recover, what will you do? Won't you have to pay him 1 million yuan? Speaking of this, she was really afraid. If Qin Haodong really lost, she couldn't bear to ask him to pay 1 million yuan, but she didn't have so much money. Qin Haodong said, "Don't worry about that. I can see that person is not greedy, or he would have asked you for compensation directly instead of smashing the sign of the clinic. He naturally knew about this kind of thing. If that person still wanted to extort money after he recovered, he would not be polite at all." The little girl thanked him again and then asked, "Little brother, my name is Huang Shaoxian. What's your name? You don't seem to be from Chinatown. Are you from Huaxia?" "My name is Qin Haodong. I just came here from Huaxia yesterday." Qin Haodong asked, "Are you the only one in this clinic?" "Of course not. It turned out that my master was treating patients. I was just helping. But my master suddenly disappeared. I couldn't find him for a long time. Considering that the clinic is my master's painstaking efforts, I didn't close it. I didn't expect to see trouble when I saw a patient." After listening to Huang Shaoxian, Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat. "Your master is missing? Can you tell me in detail what's going on?" Huang Shaoxian didn't know why Qin Haodong was asking this, but she still said truthfully, "My master's name is Huang Mingzhi. He used to go to the forest park over there every morning, but he never came back after he went out yesterday morning. Later I called the police, but the police didn't find any clues. The other party first took away Sun Fengqing and his grandson, and now they took away the doctor of Tai traditional Chinese medicine clinic. It could be seen that they must have some purpose. Since they had taken away Sun Fengqing and Huang Mingzhi, would they still do something to other people? He thought it was very possible. If that was the case, he could find clues about the angel group. He said to Huang Shaoxian, "How are your master's medical skills in our Chinatown?" Huang Shaoxian said, "Of course, he's the best. In the entire Chinatown, only Gao Mingqing of Huichan Hall can compare with my master's medical skills." Qin Haodong asked, "Where is Huichan Hall? How is Gao Mingqing?" "Huichan Hall is not far from here, about 400 or 500 meters away. Gao Mingqing is also very good. I saw him go to see patients this morning." Qin Haodong said, "I'm going to visit Gao Mingqing. You'd better close your clinic and stop doing business." He felt that this little girl's medical skills were not good enough. She was only at the level of an apprentice. It would take some time for her to see patients alone. "Well, I'll close my clinic now and never dare to see patients again." Huang Shaoxian said, "Brother, I have nothing to do anyway. Why don't I take you to Huichan Hall?" Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Well, let's go together." Huang Shaoxian closed the door and took Qin Haodong along Chinatown for about 400 or 500 meters. They saw another traditional Chinese medicine clinic with the sign of Huichan Hall. Qin Haodong asked Huang Shaoxian to wait outside and walked in alone. In the clinic, an old man with white hair and beard was seeing patients. He was Gao Mingqing, the head of Huichan Hall, the famous old Chinese medicine practitioner in Chinatown. The business here was good. Qin Haodong waited for a while before it was his turn to see a doctor. Gao Mingqing put 2 fingers on Qin Haodong's pulse. After a careful diagnosis, he said in surprise, "Young man, I've been a doctor for so many years, but I've never seen such a strong body. What do you want to see? Qin Haodong said, Mr. Gao, I heard that your medical skills are good, so I came here to feel your pulse and see if there is anything wrong with your body. Gao Mingqing shook his head and said, no problem. Your body is too good. It's really good. In that case, I won't disturb you. Qin Haodong said goodbye and left Huichun Hall. He had just left a divine sense mark on Gao Mingqing by feeling the pulse. If Angel Pharmaceutical took Gao Mingqing away again, as long as he was still in this city, he could find the base of Angel Pharmaceutical with this mark. But this was just a guess. He couldn't keep watching here all the time. After going out, he said to Huang Shaoxian, can you do something for me? Of course. You've helped me so much. It's my duty to do something for you. Huang Shaoxian agreed without hesitation. Qin Haodong said, help me keep an eye on Huichun Hall these 2 days. If anything happens to Mr. Gao, call me immediately. Hearing this request, Huang Shaoxian said in surprise, what do you mean? Mr. Gao is fine. What could happen to him? Qin Haodong naturally couldn't reveal too much to this little girl. He said, just do as I say. It's good that he's fine. If anything happens, call me immediately. Chapter 806. Qin Haodong had just left Huang Shaoxian when the phone in his pocket rang. He took a look and found it was Shi Yumi. They had just been separated for a few hours. Why was she calling so soon? He pressed the answer button and Shi Yumi's choked voice came from the other side of the phone. Haodong, run away. Don't stay here. Go back to Huaxia as soon as possible. Qin Haodong knew that something was wrong and quickly asked, what's wrong? What happened? Shi Yumi choked with sobs and said, don't ask. Go away as soon as possible. Qin Haodong said, how can I go if you don't tell me what happened? Shi Yumi said, Gerard and his men are here. They just found me. Qin Haodong frowned. This damn bearded man. How could he not stop? Did he forget that he saved him on the plane? He said, have they left now? Yes, speaking of this, Shi Yumi seemed very sad and couldn't help crying loudly. The surroundings seemed to be very chaotic and many people were scolding her loudly. Qin Haodong knew that he couldn't solve any problem on the phone, so he said, tell me your address. I'll go there now. Shi Yumi said, don't come. Gerard and his men will come back, okay, I'll stop talking. Wait for me. I'll be right there. Qin Haodong directly hung up the phone and waved his hand to stop a taxi. He grabbed a stack of US dollars and threw it at the driver. Send it to the venue of the Fashion Week in 10 minutes. The Fashion Week was very famous this time, so the taxi driver naturally knew where it was. He immediately put away the money, stepped on the accelerator and rushed out. 10 minutes later, he arrived at Lincoln Center, the venue of the Fashion Week. The Fashion Week was going to officially start tomorrow. Today was a rehearsal for the show. Shi Yumi and the other designers who came to participate in the exhibition would take their fashion models to practice in the venue of the metropolis. When Qin Haodong walked into the venue, he found that it was a mess. Lincoln Center was a landmark of M country. Gerard and his men did not dare to move. However, the equipment brought by these fashion designers was smashed to pieces. All kinds of clothes were thrown all over the ground. Many of the models who participated in the rehearsal were beaten black and blue. Especially the male models, they were beaten even more miserably. One of the models had his leg broken, and he kept wailing on the ground. In the middle of the stage, a group of people surrounded Shi Yumi and kept scolding her. It's all your fault. Why did you have to provoke the Jared family? Look at what happened now. Our models have been dragged into this mess by you. How are they going to perform in the Fashion Week tomorrow? It's not enough this time. Those people will come later. How do you think we can continue to practice? In the midst of all the scolding, Shi Yumi just squatted on the ground pitifully, holding her head in her hands, and kept crying. Don't cry, get up. A strong hand pulled Shiyumi up. Shiyumi looked up and saw that it was Qin Haodong. She hurriedly shouted, "Why are you here? Hurry up and run. Those people will come back later." At this time, a curvy white woman shouted, "He can't go. The Jared family is here for him. If we don't solve the problem, how can we rehearse? How can we perform tomorrow?" When the others saw that Qin Haodong was the person Jared was looking for, they all shouted, "That's right. He can't go. If we don't solve the problem, who will be responsible for the loss?" "Well, stop arguing. Since I'm here, I won't leave." Qin Haodong spoke English well. His voice was not loud, but it was full of dignity, which made the people around him shut up instantly. He looked back at Shiyumi and saw a big handprint on the left side of her cheek, and her right cheekbone was also swollen. Obviously, she had been slapped. Although he didn't accept Shiyumi, he was still furious when he saw her beaten like this. He asked angrily, "Who hit you? Tell me what the hell is going on." Shiyumi said, "We were rehearsing. Jared took a lot of people here, and I don't know how. He said that he couldn't get the $30 million back, and you had to compensate him for his loss. He asked me to tell him your address, but I didn't tell him. Then he smashed everything here and threatened me that if I didn't hand you over, I wouldn't be able to attend this fashion week. That bastard. I should have let the robbers kill him at that time." Qin Haodong patted Shiyumi on the back and comforted her, "Don't worry. You should rehearse. I'll solve the problem." Hearing their conversation, the tall woman next to them spoke again, "How? Let's not talk about other things. Our models are all injured. How are they going to perform tomorrow?" Qin Haodong glanced around and saw the model with a broken leg who was still wailing. He asked, "He has been injured for so long. Why hasn't he been sent to the hospital?" Shiyumi said, "That's my contracted model. Before he left, Jared said that if anyone dared to send him to the hospital, he would break his leg. The ambulance hasn't arrived yet. He must have told them." The tall woman said, "Since you have offended the Jared family, you should quit this fashion week. Otherwise, we will all suffer." Hearing this suggestion, the other fashion designers all followed suit. Shiyumi said with tears in her eyes, "Well, I'll quit." Originally, she had great hopes for this fashion week. Her latest designs were likely to amaze the world at the exhibition, but things had come to this point. She could only choose to quit. "Wait. You can't quit." Qin Haodong stopped Shiyumi and turned to the others. "Give me half an hour and I'll give you an explanation." After that, he stepped in front of Shiyumi, reached out to wipe away the tears on her face, and then gently pressed her cheek. The green with genuine qi circulated, and the big palm print and the swollen cheek quickly disappeared. The skin on her cheek returned to its previous delicate state. The fashion designers next to them wanted to continue pressuring Shiyumi to quit the fashion week, but they were all stunned by this magical scene. What's going on? Is this man the hand of God? He could easily heal the wound on her face. After Shiyumi's injury was healed, Qin Haodong stepped in front of the model with a broken leg. "Calm down. I'm a doctor. I'll cure your leg now." Before the male model could react, Qin Haodong had already grabbed his two broken legs. He gently pushed them with both hands, and with a click, the broken legs were connected. The male model had been in unbearable pain and his whole body had been soaked with sweat. Suddenly, he felt that his legs were no longer painful, and everything seemed to have returned to the state before the injury. "Well, you can stand up now, but you can't exert force on this leg for 7 days. You'll be completely back to normal in half a month." Qin Haodong left a wisp of green with genuine qi in his broken leg to help him recover. Then he stood up and began to treat the other injured models. The male model sat on the ground, dumbfounded. He couldn't believe it. His leg had been broken. Could he really stand up? But now his broken leg was no longer painful. He reached out and touched it, but he didn't feel any pain. With the help of others, he tried to stand up from the ground. Except for a little soreness in his broken leg, he didn't feel much pain. He tried to take 2 steps forward and found that he could really walk, but he couldn't exert too much force on this leg. Oh my God, what's going on? Did I meet a magic doctor? Only then did he come to his senses. He hurriedly came to Qin Haodong and said, "Little doctor, thank you so much. Thank you so much." Qin Haodong fixed the dislocated arm of a male model and said, "It's nothing. This is my compensation for you on behalf of Shi Yumi." The male model with the broken leg asked again, "Doctor, can I still walk on the runway with my leg?" "Of course, but you have to wait for half a month." Qin Haodong said and pressed a few times on the swollen cheek of another male model. The original 2 big panda eyes quickly disappeared, and the previous skin color returned. Thank God. The male model was so excited that he shed tears. He had thought that his life was over because of his broken leg and he would have to say goodbye to the runway. Now hearing that he could recover in half a month, he suddenly felt like he had been reborn. Come and see, everyone. A magic doctor. He's really a magic doctor. The onlookers were also shocked by Qin Haodong's medical skills. Now hearing his shout, everyone came to their senses, and suddenly the scene became noisy. Amazing, it's really amazing. I was beaten here just now, and it still hurts. After being pressed a few times by the little doctor, not only has it completely recovered, but it's also very comfortable. Yes, I was just slapped twice, and my face was swollen. Now it's completely gone, and I don't feel any discomfort. A blonde female model looked at her face in the mirror and exclaimed, "Look, everyone, not only the bruises on my face have disappeared, but even the freckles are gone. The little doctor really has a pair of God's hands. Only God can do such a magical thing." In a burst of exclamations, Qin Haodong had cured all the models who had been beaten, but these people still surrounded him. The tall woman, who had been aggressive to Shi Yumi just now had a smile on her face. She said to Qin Haodong, "Little doctor, what kind of medical skills did you use? Why is it so magical?" At this time, Qin Haodong naturally did not mind advertising for traditional Chinese medicine. He said, "I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner. What I just used was the massage technique of traditional Chinese medicine to treat external injuries." A long-legged model squeezed into the crowd and asked Qin Haodong eagerly, "I still have a few freckles on my face. Can traditional Chinese medicine help me get rid of them?" These freckles had been bothering her for a long time. She had used many beauty techniques, but she could not get rid of them. Every time before going on stage, she had to use a lot of makeup to cover them. Of course. Qin Haodong came to the long-legged model and reached out to massage her cheeks a few times. Under the effect of the greenwood genuine qi, the freckles soon disappeared. Seeing her flawless face in the mirror, the long-legged model suddenly screamed with excitement, "Oh my God, it's amazing. It's really amazing." Then she suddenly hugged Qin Haodong and kissed him crazily on the cheek. So this is traditional Chinese medicine. There is such a magical medical skill in Huaxia, I didn't expect it. Traditional Chinese medicine is really amazing. I want to see a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. I thought there was only Western medicine in the world, but it turns out that there is more magical traditional Chinese medicine. Compared with treatment, beauty could make these women walking on the runway go crazy. Seeing the freckles on the long-legged model's face disappear, the others immediately surrounded her like crazy. Chapter 807. Little doctor, I often have a stomachache. Can you touch it for me, little doctor? Can you help me take a look at the nodules in my breast? Can you help me feel them, little doctor? I often have dysmenorrhea. Can you touch it for me? Encountering this kind of miracle doctor who could cure diseases with just a touch, a group of beautiful big models kept shouting. In the crowd, Qin Haodong's nose and mouth were full of all kinds of perfumes. Qin Haodong was speechless. This is called massage, okay? How did it become a touch? Besides, shouldn't I touch you? Why are people always touching me? Are they treating me or taking advantage of me? The scene was in chaos. The male model whose leg had just been broken saw Qin Haodong surrounded by the crowd and his eyes were full of envy. Any one of the models present was a world-class model. Perhaps only this young doctor could be surrounded by these proud and arrogant women and be chased after by them. But he did have real skills. He could cure diseases with a casual touch and a massage. While he was sighing, he suddenly saw a group of men in black rushing in from outside, led by Jared who had just left. "Oh no, Jared is here again." The male model with the broken leg shouted and then ran backstage. He didn't want to break his leg that had just been reattached again. When the others heard the shout, they immediately stopped and stepped back. Although they wanted to cure the disease, they had just experienced how terrible the Jared family was. They didn't want to be beaten again. Everyone retreated to the sides. In the blink of an eye, only Qin Haodong and Shiyumi were left on the wide T stage. With a cigar in his hand, Jared walked under the T stage with a proud face. He looked at Qin Haodong and said, "Boy, keep hiding if you can. I'm telling you, this is my place. I'll find you even if you hide in a mouse hole." As he spoke, he stepped onto the T stage. "Boy, I'm telling you, because of you too, I was blackmailed $30 million on the plane. Now those bastards have been arrested, but I can't get the money back. This loss must be blamed on you." It turned out that the robbers on the plane had accomplices outside. The money was transferred only a few minutes after it was transferred to the account. Although the Jared family had great power here, and although the police tried their best, they still could not recover the money. Gerard was annoyed that he had lost more than 30 million at once, so he blamed Qin Haodong for it. Qin Haodong glanced at the bearded man and said coldly, "You really don't know what's good for you. If I hadn't helped you on the plane, you might have been killed by the robbers. How dare you ask me for money? Cut the crap. I knew it. If it weren't for you two bitches, I wouldn't have said that there was $30 million in my card. In short, you have to compensate for today's loss." Shiyumi said, "We can't come up with so much money in a short time. I'll give you $10 million first, and we'll pay the rest later, okay?" At this moment, the long-legged model who was standing at the side walked over and said, "I can help you pay $1 million. Just take it as my consultation fee." The tall woman also came over and said, "Yes, we can pay it back if we pool our money together. I'll pay $500,000. I'll pay $300,000. I'll pay $800,000. These people were either grateful for Qin Haodong's help just now or wanted to ask him for help to treat the disease. They all ran out to pool their money. In the blink of an eye, almost $30 million had been raised. Qin Haodong smiled gratefully at these people and said, "Thank you, but I don't need your help. I can solve it myself." Seeing that $30 million was almost raised, Gerard's expression relaxed a lot. Seeing that Qin Haodong had refused these people, he suddenly said with a cold face, "Boy, do you have $30 million yourself?" Qin Haodong sneered and said, $30 million is nothing at all. I even have $300 million. But why should I give it to you? Boy, it seems that you're new here. You don't know the power of our Gerard family in City N at all. If you can't pay the money today, I'll sell you and this little devil together." Gerard's words were extremely arrogant. Although he had seen Qin Haodong fight on the plane, he had brought the elite bodyguards of his family today, who could not be compared to those robbers. Besides, M Country was not like Huaxia. His bodyguards each had a gun. Even if Qin Haodong's skills were powerful, could he be more powerful than a gun? So he did not take the young man in front of him seriously at all. But before he finished speaking, a huge foot appeared in his pupils, and then he was kicked in the face, which was still holding a cigar. Qin Haodong did not want to talk nonsense with this guy. He kicked him off the T stage. He did not show any mercy. Not only did he kick Gerard 7 or 8 meters away, but he also broke half of his teeth. Gerard fell under the T stage with a plop, and he almost fainted. Seeing that their master was beaten, the two bodyguards next to him rushed over and helped him up. Gerard spat out a mouthful of blood. He was so angry that he pointed to Qin Haodong on the stage and shouted, "Beat him! Beat him hard for me! Break all his bones for me!" He was so angry that no one had ever dared to beat the young master of the Gerard family. In a place like City N of M country, the Gerard family was so powerful that they could even kill a Huaxia man. It was not a big deal at all. As soon as he gave the order, more than a dozen bodyguards rushed to the tea stage. Looking at the fierce expressions of these people, the models next to them could not help screaming. Some of them could not even bear to see the next scene and covered their eyes with their hands. These bodyguards of the Gerard family were either excellent boxers from the underground boxing world or retired special forces. They were all tall and strong, and they did not take Qin Haodong, who was thin, seriously at all. But when they rushed to the tea stage, they were kicked out one by one before they could figure out what was going on. More than a dozen people came up, but they did not even touch the corner of Qin Haodong's clothes. Gerard was furious and shouted to the bodyguards behind him, "Are you all fools? Hurry up and use your guns to turn him into a sieve." These bodyguards also saw Qin Haodong's power and took out the pistols at their waists. They had met kung fu masters over the years, but what could they do? In the end, they were all killed by their guns. These people took out their pistols and were about to shoot Qin Haodong without hesitation, but they suddenly found that the figure in front of them had disappeared. What's going on? Where did he go? Before these bodyguards could figure out what was going on, they felt that their hands were light and the guns in their hands disappeared. As a saint-level master, how could Qin Haodong give these ordinary bodyguards a chance to shoot? In the blink of an eye, he had taken all the guns in their hands and thrown them into the trash can next to him. Devil. He is a devil. With this skill, the bodyguards of the Gerard family retreated with fear in their eyes, as if they had seen a ghost. Qin Haodong glanced at them and said coldly, "Kneel down if you don't want to die." In the face of his powerful momentum, these people all knelt on the ground at the same time. Two bodyguards boldly wanted to run, but before they could run a few steps, they fell to the ground with a plop. It was unknown whether they were alive or dead. The models on the stage saw all this and opened their mouths in surprise. My God, is he really God? Qin Haodong stepped in front of Gerard. At this time, the young master of the Gerard family was trembling with fear, and his body emitted a pungent smell of urine. Smelly. Smelly. Looking at the young man in front of him, he trembled and said, I'm sorry, I don't want the 30 million. Qin Haodong kicked him to the ground and said coldly, "We have to settle accounts, but I have to settle accounts with you first. You took people to smash things here and hurt my girlfriend. How do you want to settle accounts with me?" Gerard shouted fiercely, "Don't go too far. I am the young master of the Gerard family. You can't survive in N City if you offend our family." Before he could finish, Qin Haodong kicked him in the face again. "Don't scare me with your shabby family. Even if your father is the president of M country, you can't do it, let alone the Bulsh *T Jared family, you." Gerard was completely defeated by the young man in front of him. If this went on, he was afraid that he would be beaten to death before his family came to support him. He said tremblingly, "I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it, okay? That's a good attitude." Qin Haodong turned to Shi Yumi and said, "How much money do we need to pay for our losses in total?" The people on the stage were all stunned. No one had expected that the arrogant young Master Gerard would be beaten like a dog. Shi Yumi came to her senses, calculated briefly and said, "Our clothes and props are all used for the fashion week. The price is very high. It adds up to about $300,000. Qin Haodong said to Gerard, "Did you hear that? $30 million, not a penny less." Gerard was dizzy from the beating and he was even more confused at this time. "I clearly heard that it was $300,000. Why did it suddenly increase by 100 times? Qin Haodong said, $300,000 is just the cost of these clothes. You've hurt so many people. Don't you need to pay for the medical expenses?" Besides, my friend is of noble status, so the medical expenses will naturally be calculated separately. You just slapped her twice, and each slap is worth $10 million. Gerard said with great grievance, I didn't hit her. If you didn't hit her, it must be your men who did it. This must be counted on you. $30 million. Do you want to pay by credit card or cash? Gerard was about to collapse. The compensation was a little too damn expensive. $10 million for one slap, and more than 100 million yuan for 2 slaps. But at this time, he didn't even dare to fart. He could only say pitifully, I can pay for the money, but my original 30 million has been cheated by the robber. I really don't have that much money. It doesn't matter if you don't have money. Isn't your Gerard family very powerful? Go back and get the money. Qin Haodong said, I'll wait for you here. You must send me $30 million within 2 hours. Gerard was delighted. He didn't know if this guy was crazy. He dared to let him go back to get the money. When he called the masters in his family, he would definitely chop this guy into pieces. Although he thought so, he didn't dare to show it on his face. He hurriedly said, Don't worry. I'll definitely send the money within 2 hours. After saying that, he ran out of the venue with his people in fear. Chapter 808. After these people left, there was a burst of cheers in the venue. They surrounded Qin Haodong again. Handsome young man, how did you do it just now? Is this the legendary Huaxia Kung Fu? You're so handsome, handsome. Do you have a girlfriend now? Can you consider me? Handsome, take me as your girlfriend. I'm willing to give birth to many children for you. These women surrounded Qin Haodong and cheered. From time to time, some of them threw themselves at him and gave him a kiss. In the blink of an eye, his face was covered with colorful marks. Lip marks. In contrast, the tall woman was more rational. She shouted to the crowd, Don't make trouble. It's not settled yet. It could be seen that she was very prestigious among the crowd. After she shouted, everyone immediately quieted down. The tall woman said to Qin Haodong, Mr. Qin, you don't know how terrible the Gerard family is. Although your Huaxia Kung Fu is amazing, you still can't compete with the entire Gerard family. I guess Gerard didn't go back to get the money, but to call for help. Hurry up and leave with Shi Yumi. Otherwise, you won't be able to leave when their people come. Hearing her words, the others also came to their senses and said, Yes, you should leave now. Now that you've beaten the heir of the Gerard family, it's not a matter that can be solved with money. Run away, handsome. I heard that there are also many very powerful people in the Gerard family. It'll be troublesome if they come. Qin Haodong took the towel from Shi Yumi and wiped the lip marks on his face. Then he said to the crowd, Don't worry. The Gerard family won't make trouble for you. On the contrary, they'll send you $30 million. Everyone looked at each other and didn't know where this young man's confidence came from. They knew how terrible the Gerard family was. How could they lower their heads? Qin Haodong said, I'm going to make a phone call now. Then he walked to a corner, took out his mobile phone and dialed Zhang Wudi's number. Zhang Wudi lost to Qin Haodong on Tianzhu Peak of Kunlun Mountain. Although it caused a great sensation overseas, with his cultivation at the middle stage of the Saint Realm, no one dared to challenge his position. Especially in the Qin gang, he still held the position of Grand Elder. Although he was not the gang leader, he was the most powerful person in the Qin gang. He was meditating and cultivating in the quiet room when his phone rang. Zhang Wudi could not help frowning. Generally speaking, his disciples did not dare to disturb him when he was cultivating, unless there was something particularly important. He grabbed the phone and saw the caller ID on the screen. His expression changed and he said respectfully, Master, what can I do for you? The master-servant contract directly locked his soul. No matter how high his status was, even though he was the Grand Elder of the Qin gang, he was still extremely respectful to Qin Haodong. Do you know the Gerard family in City N of M country? Jean Woody thought for a moment and said, Master, I remember now. There is such a family in M country, but it's not worth mentioning in the whole West. It can only be regarded as a small family. The current Qin gang was a giant existence in the entire Western underground world. They rarely paid attention to a small family like the Jared family. He asked again, Master, did this family offend you? Do you need me to get someone to destroy them? Qin Haodong said, they did make some trouble for me, but I don't need to destroy them. I just need to give them a warning. They owe me $30 million now. Ask them to send it to me immediately. The main purpose of his visit to City N was to find the nest of Angel Pharmaceutical. He did not want to make too much noise. Master, don't worry. I'll ask the head of the Jared family to confess to you and send the money to you right away. Jean Woody hung up the phone. He did not have the contact information of the Jared family, so he directly called his eldest disciple, Tong Taisheng, the leader of the Qin gang, in and asked him to handle the matter. Moreover, he repeatedly urged that this matter must be handled properly. Although Tong Taisheng did not understand why Jean Woody suddenly helped Qin Haodong, he did not dare to be careless about what his teacher had asked him to do. He immediately called old Jared, the head of the Jared family. At this time, old Jared looked at his son, who had been beaten into a pig's head in front of him. In City N, someone dared to hit his son. It was simply courting death. You said that the guy is waiting in Lincoln Center now, and he wants you to send him $30 million? Jared said, Yes, father. That guy is too arrogant. He doesn't take our Jared family seriously at all. You must avenge me and teach him a lesson. A cold light flashed in old Jared's eyes. He ordered the butler, take all the masters of the family and let's go to Lincoln Center. I don't believe that this Huaxia man can go against us. As one of the big families in City N, his family naturally had some hidden power, but they rarely showed it. But at this moment, the cell phone in his pocket rang. Old Jared was originally angry. He did not know who was calling at this time. He took out his cell phone and was about to lose his temper, but when he saw the phone number on the screen, he immediately became very respectful. Respected gang leader Tong, why did you think of calling me? Do you have any orders? Although his family was very powerful in City N of M country, it could not be compared with the Qin gang, which dominated the whole Western world. As long as the leader on the other side of the phone was unhappy, he could destroy his family with a flick of his fingers. Tong Taisheng said, take $300 million to Lincoln Center right now and sincerely apologize to Mr. Qin. If you can't get Mr. Qin's forgiveness, your family will no longer exist. Tong Taisheng was really not interested in saying a word to such a small family. He hung up the phone directly after telling his teacher what to do. He was not worried about whether the Jared family could carry out his orders. As long as old Jared was not crazy, he would not dare to fight against the Qin gang. Old Jared was dumbfounded after answering the phone. Who on earth was this Huaxia man? How could he make the leader of the Qin gang call him directly and increase the compensation of $30 million by 10 times? Seeing that his father was stunned after answering the phone, Jared could not wait any longer. He stepped forward and said, Father, everyone is here. Let's go now. We must chop that guy into pieces. I'll chop you first, you bastard. Gerard Sr. raised his hand and slapped Gerard's face hard. How could he not know by now that his disappointing son had provoked a powerful enemy for him? Jared was slapped to the ground. He covered his swollen cheek and said with an aggrieved expression, Father, why did you hit me? Old Jared waved his hand to the butler next to him and said, tie this bastard up and bring a check of $300 million. Let's go and apologize to Mr. Qin. This time, not only Jared, but also his men next to him were dumbfounded. It seemed that the family head had never come to apologize in person as far as they could remember. What the hell are you waiting for? Didn't you hear me? Old Jared was furious when he saw his men standing there like wooden blocks. He slapped the butler again. He was full of anger because he had provoked the Qin gang for no reason. Got it, master. The butler hurriedly agreed and asked the bodyguard next to him to tie Gerard up. Then, he wrote a check for $300 million and followed old Gerard to Lincoln Center. After the call, Chin Haodong returned to the center of the tea stage. Shiyumi hesitated for a moment and said worriedly, "Haodong, why don't you go out and hide for a while?" The long-legged sister also said, "Yes, handsome boy, you are not from country, so you don't know how powerful the Jared family is. They are too powerful. You really can't fight against them alone." Chin Haodong glanced at the warm-hearted long-legged sister. She was 180 meters tall, with blonde hair and blue eyes. She had big breasts, a slim waist, and long legs. She was indeed a rare Western beauty. "Beautiful woman," he said jokingly. "Beauty, how old are you? Do you have a boyfriend? You still have the mood to joke at a time like this." The long-legged sister was about to say something when her expression suddenly changed. She saw a group of people rushing in from the outside, led by old Jared. After entering the door, old Jared glanced at the stage. He didn't know Chin Haodong, so he asked, "I'm Jared, the elder of the Jared family. Which one is Mr. Chin?" As the leader of a big family, old Jared was naturally imposing, which made the people on the stage even more nervous. Chin Haodong took a step forward and said lightly, "That's me. Did you bring the money?" As soon as he said that, the tall woman and the others behind him suddenly became nervous. What was wrong with this guy? Couldn't he see that a disaster was coming? How dare he ask for money at this time? But what surprised them was that after hearing Chin Haodong's identity, old Jared actually plopped down on his knees in front of him and said, "Mr. Chin, I'm really sorry. I didn't teach my son well. Please let our family go." For him now, $300 million was not a big deal at all. What mattered was Tong Tieshing's threat just now. If the man in front of him was not satisfied, then his family would come to an end. As the saying goes, a man should be flexible. For the survival of his family, Jared gave himself such a reason and then lowered his head and knelt down. This time, not only were the people on the stage surprised, but even the people of the Jared family were shocked. They didn't understand who this young man was and how could he scare the patriarch like this. Chin Haodong was not interested in these things. He said to old Jared, "Didn't you understand what I said? Did you bring the money?" "I brought the money, and I also brought my unfilial son. Mr. Chin, you can do whatever you want to him." After saying that, old Jared waved his hand behind him. The housekeeper hurriedly handed the check of $300 million to Chin Haodong, and then 2 bodyguards carried Jared over. Only then did everyone find that Jared, who had just been beaten by Chin Haodong, was now firmly tied up. Chin Haodong took the check in his hand, casually flicked it, and then handed it to Shiyumi behind him. Then he said to old Jared, "All right, you seem to have a good attitude. That's it. Take your son away and don't let me see him again." "Of course. Don't worry, Mr. Chin. I will discipline this unfilial son well when I go back. I will never let you see him again." Seeing that he had survived, old Jared breathed a sigh of relief. He turned around and was about to leave with his men. "Wait a minute." Chin Haodong stopped them again. Old Jared, who had just been relieved, suddenly became nervous again. Would this man go back on his word again? He turned around and said with a flattering face, "Mr. Chin, what else can I do for you?" Chapter 809. Chin Haodong said, "My friend and I just arrived in country, and we don't have a suitable car yet." "No problem, Mr. Chin. What kind of car do you like? I'll send someone to buy one right away." Old Jared immediately agreed. He had spent $300 million, so he didn't care about 2 cars. "There's no need for that. Just leave 2 of the cars in your fleet for me." Chin Haodong thought new cars were too troublesome, so he asked old Jared for 2. "Then I have a Rolls-Royce Phantom and a Range Rover. Mr. Chin, you can drive them first. If you're not satisfied, I'll change them for you." Then old Jared waved his hand, and 2 bodyguards immediately brought the car keys in their hands. He held them in front of Qin Haodong with both hands. "All right, I'll take them. They're just vehicles anyway." Qin Haodong took the car keys, threw the Rolls-Royce to Shiyumi, and kept the Range Rover for himself. He waved his hand to old Jared and said, "Okay, you can go now." Old Jared felt as if he had been pardoned. He immediately ran out of Lincoln Center with his men. After going out, he asked someone to let go of Jared. Jared stretched his stiff limbs and couldn't help asking, "Father, what's going on? Why did we apologize to that guy? And why did $30 million become $300 million? How dare you ask? It's all your fault. Let me tell you, even if Qin Haodong wanted to kill you today, I wouldn't dare to stop him. Be careful in the future. You can't afford to provoke such a person." Jared was shocked and asked in astonishment, "Father, he's just a guy from Huaxia. Although he has some kung fu, our family doesn't have to be afraid of him, does it?" Old Jared said, "We're not afraid of him alone, but do you know who's behind him? It's the Qin gang." The call just now was from Tong Taisheng, the leader of the Qin gang. It can be seen how high this guy's position in the Qin gang is. Can we afford to provoke him? Tong Taisheng made it very clear that if we can't satisfy Qin Haodong just now, our whole family will cease to exist in the future. Hearing that Qin Haodong was from the Qin gang, Gerard was so scared that he couldn't help shrinking his neck. He didn't expect that this Huaxia man had such a powerful background. If he had known it earlier, he wouldn't have dared to compete with Qin Haodong for a woman. Old Jared said to his men, "I'm telling you, no one is allowed to provoke Qin Haodong in the future. Even if they take your wives away, you have to endure it. Otherwise, I'll blow your head off immediately. Do you hear me?" "Got it." These people spoke in unison. What a joke. Even the patriarch couldn't afford to offend such an existence, so who among them would dare to find trouble with him? Wouldn't they be tired of living? In the venue, Qin Haodong said to Shiyumi, "Take this money and make up for everyone's loss. You can use the rest." Shiyumi quickly said, "How can I use so much money? $10 million is enough. I'll transfer the rest to you." Qin Haodong said casually, "Well, you can do whatever you want with it. Talk to me when you run out of money." All the beauties next to them were dumbfounded. The young man in Huaxia in front of them was handsome, young and rich. He had such a powerful background and was so generous to women. Was there a better man in the world than him? After a short silence, these women went completely crazy. They were either world-famous designers or world-famous models. They surrounded Qin Haodong like a swarm of bees. "Handsome boy, do you have a girlfriend? Why don't we make friends?" "Handsome boy, I'm proficient in yoga and ballet. I can unlock any posture." "Handsome boy, my breasts are 36D. How about you let me be your girlfriend?" Faced with such enthusiasm, Qin Haodong couldn't bear it. He quickly pushed the crowd away and ran to the corner. At this time, the foreign horse stepped forward to help. "Well, don't you see that he's Shiyumi's girl? Everyone, hurry up and get to work." Hearing her words, all the women sighed regretfully and began to busy themselves with their own matters. Seeing that all the others had left, the foreign horse came to Qin Haodong's side. Her big golden eyes kept flashing and she said in a charming voice, "Dear Qin, my name is Jennifer. Can I invite you to have dinner with me?" Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, "I'm sorry, Miss Jennifer. I'm not used to Western food." Hearing his refusal, Jennifer did not step back. Instead, she took 2 steps forward. Although there was still a little distance between them, her amazing breasts were already pressed against Qin Haodong's arm, and the wonderful touch was instantly transmitted to him. "Mr. Qin, you may not like Western food, but your brother may not have eaten Western food yet, has he? If you don't mind, I can satisfy any of your requirements." Qin Haodong couldn't stand Jennifer's boldness and straightforwardness. He was thinking about how to refuse when the cell phone in his pocket rang. "Sorry, Miss Jennifer. I have to answer the phone. Qin Haodong took out his cell phone and saw that it was Huang Shaoxian. He realized that there might be some changes over there, so he immediately pressed the answer button. Sure enough, as soon as the phone was connected, he heard Huang Shaoxian's voice saying in a hurry, "Brother Qin, something happened. Mr. Gao Mingsheng was suddenly kidnapped during lunch." Qin Haodong said, "What the hell is going on? Tell me slowly." Huang Shaoxian said, "You asked me to keep an eye on Mr. Gao Mingsheng, so I stayed in front of his clinic. I followed him when he was having lunch at noon. But before Mr. Gao walked into the restaurant next to him, a Mercedes-Benz business car suddenly rushed over. Two black men jumped out of the car and directly grabbed the old man, then they drove away." "What's the license plate of the business car?" Huang Shaoxian said, "It's a silver-gray Mercedes-Benz business car. There's no license plate on the car." "Well, I see." Qin Haodong hung up the phone. As soon as he put down the phone, Jennifer leaned over again and said, "Mr. Qin, I think you should consider my suggestion. In fact, I'm a bachelor. I don't care if you have a girlfriend or not. I can accept it if we have a threesome. Sorry, I have to go now." Qin Haodong couldn't stand the enthusiasm of the foreign woman. He ran out of Lincoln Center in a hurry. He had guessed that the people of Angel Pharmaceutical would probably do something to Gao Mingsheng, so he left a divine sense mark on Gao Mingsheng. He didn't expect that something would happen so soon. It was noon and he was in the center of N City. Naturally, he couldn't fly on his sword. He could only take out the car key and get in the Range Rover left by old Jared. He followed the direction of the divine sense mark and drove to the west of N City. His driving skills were very good. The Range Rover was like a fast-moving big fish, driving forward quickly in the sea of cars and getting closer and closer to the divine sense mark. Soon he came to the edge of N City. The Mercedes-Benz business car in front of him continued to drive out of the city and to the peripheral mountains. M country's population density was far less than that of Huaxia, and there were even fewer people outside the city. Qin Haodong found a place where there was no one and parked the Range Rover on the side of the road. Then he got out of the car and jumped into the air, chasing after the Mercedes-Benz business car in front of him. His purpose was to find the base of Angel Pharmaceutical, so he didn't rush to approach it but just followed it from a distance. The Mercedes-Benz carrying Gao Mingsheng seemed to be afraid that someone was following it. It circled around several times in the vicinity. After making sure that there were no cars behind it, it got off the road and drove along the path into the mountains. Soon it came to a big mountain. There was no road ahead. At this moment, the mountain wall in front of him suddenly split open on both sides, revealing a cave about 10 meters wide and 7 or 8 meters high. The Mercedes-Benz drove into the cave, and the mountain wall soon closed again. From the outside, it looked very well hidden, as if nothing had happened. Qin Haodong landed on a big tree on the opposite side, thinking that the base of Angel Pharmaceutical was really well hidden. If he hadn't come up with such a way, it would have been difficult for him to find it. He didn't rush to take action. Since Gao Mingsheng had been caught here, it would take some time for him to meet up with Sun Fengqin, Huang Mingzhi, and the others. If he attacked too early, it would be easy to alert the enemy. He waited outside for more than half an hour. Calculating that it was almost time, he jumped down from the tree and strode to the mountain wall. The gate of this hidden base was made of fine steel, with a thick layer of stone walls hanging outside. The defense was extremely strong. Even if ordinary people found it, they couldn't break in. But Qin Haodong was not an ordinary person. With a loud shout, the Xian Yuan sword in his hand turned into a sharp light and fiercely cut at the stone wall of the cave. With a loud bang, no matter how strong the stone wall was, it couldn't withstand the blow of a saint. It was still split into pieces, revealing the true appearance of the cave. Qin Haodong strode into the cave with the Xian Yuan sword in his hand. He didn't think too much about this underground base. Since he had absolute strength, he could directly attack it. After the gate was smashed, a harsh alarm immediately sounded in the cave. Qin Haodong had just taken a dozen steps when more than 20 men in black with all kinds of guns rushed out. Qin Haodong raised the Xian Yuan sword in his hand and shouted at these people, "Put down your guns, and I'll spare your lives." The men in black were stunned. Wasn't this supposed to be their line? Why was it taken away by this man in front of them? They didn't understand where the man in front of them got his courage from. Although the sword in his hand looked very dazzling, the guns in their hands were the most advanced. Cold weapons couldn't compete with them. Fire! As the leader of the men in black gave the order, the gunman behind him immediately pulled the trigger. The dense bullets turned into flames and shot at Qin Haodong. In their opinion, there was no suspense in this battle. But when they put down the trigger, they found that there was no one in front of them. Then a golden light flashed in front of them and instantly cut their throats. These gunmen were all trained by Angel Pharmaceutical. They were the pawns of the alien demons. Qin Haodong naturally wouldn't show any mercy to these people. He killed them all with a sword and then walked inside with the Xian Yuan sword again. After a short distance, more than a dozen gunmen rushed out. Qin Haodong raised the Xian Yuan sword again and said, "Put down your guns and I won't kill you." The result was the same as before. After a burst of gunshots, more than a dozen gunmen in black fell in a pool of blood. Qin Haodong held the big sword in his hand and continued to move into the base majestically. In a secret room, a white man in his 70s was staring at the big screen in front of him with a grim expression. He was Klinsmann, the president of Angel Pharmaceutical. Next to him stood a middle-aged man in his 50s. He was his assistant, Mora. Seeing Qin Haodong's murderous look, Mora exclaimed, "Boss, it's Qin Haodong. How did he find our underground base?" Chapter 8:10. Bastard, we haven't gone to him yet. How dare he come to us? Klinsmann grabbed a bottle of red wine on the table and smashed it on the ground. With a crack, the wine, which was worth hundreds of thousands of yuan, splashed all over the ground. Mora cried, "Boss, he has already rushed in. What should we do now?" Klinsmann roared crazily, "Kill him. We must kill him no matter what. It took us a lot of effort to catch these Chinese medicine practitioners. We can't let him ruin our plan." Mora grabbed a walkie-talkie on the table and shouted into it, "Zamorano, the boss orders you to kill Qin Haodong." On the other side of the walkie-talkie, a frightened voice cried, "Boss, but that man's strength is too terrifying. He's not a human being, but a devil." Klinsmann grabbed the walkie-talkie and shouted crazily, "I don't care. Anyway, one of you must die. If he doesn't die, you will." "Got it, boss." In the underground base, Zamorano, who was pale, put down the walkie-talkie in his hand and shouted to the gunman behind him, "Get out of here. The boss said that we must kill that guy today, or we will all die." After entering the base, Qin Haodong had been violently cracking all the way. He killed the gunman who rushed out with his sword and cut open the closed door with his sword. Occasionally, the underground base would use some bombs. But Qin Haodong could always leave one step earlier with the help of his primordial spirit. Every time he exploded, when the bomb exploded, he was already 100 meters away, so the people who were injured could only be his own people in the base. Mora looked at the big screen and said to Klinsmann, "Boss, Qin Haodong's strength is too terrifying. It's beyond our imagination. The people in the base can't stop him at all." At this time, Klinsmann also noticed this. He recovered from his rage and sighed, "Fortunately, he didn't find us. Otherwise, it would be really difficult." Mora said, "What should we do? Why don't we apply to the organization and ask them to send experts to kill him?" Klinsmann said, "I've already applied to the organization after Dr. Jin's died, but they said that it's not the time yet. They told us not to provoke this guy for the time being." Mora said, "But if we let this guy stay in City N all the time, he will be a huge threat to us. Maybe he will come to us one day." Klinsmann thought for a moment and said, "For the time being, we don't have a master who can match him, but we have money. Post a mission on the dark web immediately and find someone to kill him. Mora said, Boss, will this work? With his cultivation, it seems that ordinary assassins can't deal with him. Klinsman said, it's best if we can find an assassin to kill him. If not, he can't stay in City N and go back to Huaxia as soon as possible. Don't let him affect our plan. Mora nodded and then asked, what about the base? Klinsman gritted his teeth and said, it's a newly built base. Let's just throw it away. Cut off all contact with them. Don't let that guy find us. Mora answered and turned around to do his work. In a secret room of the base, a gunman in black ran in a panic and said to Zamorano, Boss, this guy is too powerful. Our people can't stop him at all. He's about to rush here. Zamorano also saw all this from the big screen. He gritted his teeth. It seemed that it was impossible to kill Qin Haodong. Hurry up and take some people to lead him to the other side so that we can safely transfer these people. If we can take these people away, the boss may spare us. Okay, boss, I'm going now. The gunman in black turned around and ran out, but it didn't take long for him to run back. Boss, we've tried many ways, but this guy just won't follow us. It seems that he knows where the people are. Zamorano shouted, did you leave any evidence when you arrested them just now? Or did he install some tracking device on the old man? The gunman in black said, that's impossible. Every time we catch a person, we will scan them and remove all the tracking devices. We didn't find anything on this old man. Zamorano's face turned pale as he watched his men being killed by Qin Haodong one after another on the screen. Now there were only him and the gunman in black left in the whole underground base. The gunman in black said, Boss, how about we surrender? Zamorano said, Surrender? Don't you know how powerful the organization is? If we surrender, we will definitely die. The gunman in black said, Boss, we will be chased by the organization in the future. As long as we can survive and find a place to hide, the organization may not be able to find us. If we don't surrender, we will be killed by this man immediately. No, I will never surrender. While Zamorano was talking, the steel anti-theft door was suddenly kicked open from the outside. Qin Haodong walked in with the Xian Yuan sword in his hand, full of killing intent. Mr. Qin, don't kill me. I surrender. Before the gunman in black could react, Zamorano had already knelt on the ground and raised his hands high. The gunman in black was stunned. This change was too fast. Qin Haodong had just said that he would never surrender, but in the blink of an eye, he had knelt down faster than himself. However, he had no time to think about this now. His life was more important. He quickly knelt on the ground and raised his hands. Qin Haodong glanced at the two of them and said coldly, if you want to live, let him go. Although he could kill his way over with his own abilities, it would be very troublesome if the other party were to engage in a life and death struggle and come up with a hostage situation. Let him go now. I'll let him go now. Cassiano reached out and pressed a red button on the wall. The wall behind him slowly opened. It turned out that his secret room was the entrance to the center of the underground base. The two men led the way and took Qin Haodong in. This was a large laboratory with a width of nearly 1,000 square meters. In the laboratory, nearly 100 old Chinese medicine doctors were busy, including Sun Fengqing and Sun Bowie. Dr. Qin, you're finally here. After seeing Qin Haodong, Sun Bowie immediately rushed over, took his hand and said, I knew you would come to save us. I've been waiting for this day. Sun Fengqing was also very excited. He said with tears in his eyes, Little Qin, I thought I would never see you again. It doesn't matter if I die, but I want to die in Huaxia. I don't want to stay in a foreign country. Qin Haodong said, It's all right now. I'm here to save you. Hearing that this young man was here to save them, the old Chinese medicine doctors in the laboratory were so excited that they burst into tears. They were caught here and thought that they would never be able to escape. They didn't expect to see the light of day again. Qin Haodong comforted them and said, "Don't worry. I'll take you away after I ask you a few questions." Then he pulled Zamorano aside and asked, "Is this the headquarters of Angel Pharmaceutical?" He had just looked around. This place didn't look like the lair of Angel Pharmaceutical, but more like a laboratory. Zamorano hurriedly said, "This is not the headquarters of Angel Pharmaceutical. It's just an underground experimental base that has just been built." Hearing that this was indeed not the headquarters of Angel Pharmaceutical, Qin Haodong felt a flash of disappointment in his heart. They were really well hidden. He had spent so much effort, but he still couldn't find them. He directly used mind manipulating and asked, "What's your position? Do you know where the headquarters of Angel Pharmaceutical is?" Zamorano said, "I'm just a small leader of Angel Pharmaceutical. I'm in charge of the experimental base here. I don't know where the headquarters of the company is." "How can you not know? Could it be that you've never been there?" Zamorano said, "When this underground base was set up, the boss met me once. But at that time, I was also blindfolded and was not allowed to bring any electronic equipment. So I don't know where the headquarters is, but according to the distance, it should be in N City." Qin Haodong frowned. They were so careful with their own people. No wonder the Shenyuan Pavilion had not found the headquarters of Angel Company so far. He asked again, "Why did you set up this experimental base? Why did you kidnap so many traditional Chinese medicine practitioners?" Zamorano said, "After the failure of the zombie virus last time, the senior management of the company realized the importance of traditional Chinese medicine, so now every virus developed will be sent to me. I asked these traditional Chinese medicine practitioners to experiment with traditional Chinese medicine. I lied to them that whoever could develop a traditional Chinese medicine to kill the virus would be released and given a large reward." Qin Haodong asked, "What's your purpose in doing this?" Zamorano said, "The boss said that it's to make money. Only when the incurable virus is spread can our company's antidote be sold at a sky-high price." Qin Haodong said angrily, "Don't tell me that you set up a pharmaceutical company to make money, not to cure diseases and save people." Zamorano said in fear and trepidation, "I don't know. That's what the boss told me. Anyway, he asked me to catch these traditional Chinese medicine practitioners to do experiments." Qin Haodong asked some more questions, but Zamorano knew nothing about the core secrets of Angel Pharmaceutical and the alien demons. There was no special tattoo on his body. It seemed that he was indeed just a small leader. Since he was an insignificant figure, Qin Haodong ignored him. It was estimated that the pursuit of the Angel Company was enough to make these two people suffer. He left the underground base with Sun Fengqing, Sun Bowie, and the other old traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. After everyone left, he threw 2 talismans into the base. With a loud bang, the whole underground base became a sea of fire. He did not choose to call the police, because it would be useless for the police to come, and they would ask a lot of questions, which would cause him a lot of trouble. The best way was to deal with it directly. However, it was also troublesome to bring these people back together. In the end, he took these people out of the mountain area, then called Huang Shaoxian and sent his location to her. Then, he asked her to hire 3 buses from the city to come here. These old traditional Chinese medicine practitioners came from all over the world, including Chinatown and Huaxia. After thanking Qin Haodong profusely, they all got on the buses and left. Huang Shaoxian did not leave with the buses. Instead, she took her master Huang Mingzhi, Sun Bowie, and Sun Fengqing to Qin Haodong's Land Rover. After returning to the city, Huang Mingzhi and Huang Shaoxian held a banquet to thank Qin Haodong for saving their lives. After this incident, Sun Fengqing and Sun Bowie did not want to stay in M country anymore, so they directly flew back to Huaxia. It was already late at night when everything was settled. Qin Haodong drove back to Shiyumi's apartment. Chapter 8:11. When Qin Haodong entered the room, the lights were on. Shiyumi was standing in front of the window in a pink nightdress, looking at the night view outside the window with her arms crossed. He didn't know what she was thinking and didn't even notice him entering the room. Under the light, the combination of Shiyumi's fair skin and the pink of her nightdress was visually attractive. She had delicate cheeks, perfect curves, and outstanding temperament. As a woman, no one could find any flaws in her. Qin Haodong said, "What are you thinking about?" "Oh. You're back." Hearing Qin Haodong's voice, Shiyumi immediately turned around, threw herself at him happily, and held his arm affectionately. "What did you do in such a hurry today? If you hadn't left alone, would have thought that you went on a date with a famous model." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "A friend of mine came to see me." He didn't tell her the truth but just found a random reason to fool her. Shiyumi didn't care about it. She took Qin Haodong's arm and blushed. "Thank you for saving me today. If you hadn't shown up in time, I wouldn't have known what to do. I might really have to pack up and go back to China." Qin Haodong said, "It's nothing. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have provoked Jared, so it's my duty to help you." Shiyumi gave him a charming smile. "No matter what, I should thank you. Including the time in Huaxia, you've saved me twice. How can I thank you? Don't you want to repay me with your body?" As she spoke, she looked at Qin Haodong with her big beautiful eyes. Even a person who didn't know how to flirt could see the affection in her eyes. Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I told you, it's nothing. It's nothing. You don't have to take it to heart." Shiyumi said, "But I really didn't expect that you have such a strong connection in M country. Even the Jared family has yielded to you. I have a friend who has some influence in M country." He called old Jared. "Your friend is really amazing. He just made a phone call and got 10 times the compensation." Shiyumi said, "I left 10 million of the $300 million for everyone. The rest has been transferred to your card. Is 10 million enough? Why don't you leave more? 10 million is already very generous. In terms of material losses, it's only about 300,000 US. The rest is used to compensate the colleagues who were beaten up." Qin Haodong nodded and stopped talking about money. He asked, "Have you eaten?" "Yes." Shiyumi looked up at him and said, "But I want you to go out for a drink with me." Qin Haodong smiled and said, "It's not suitable for a girl like you to go there." "Is there something wrong?" "No, I've long heard that the bars in M country are very fun, but I don't have a boyfriend to accompany me. I don't dare to go alone, so I want you to accompany me." Shiyumi raised a finger and said, "Just once. I just want to go there and have a look." Qin Haodong said, "Well, I'll go with you." "That's great, thank you." Shiyumi pecked Qin Haodong on the cheek. Then, she ran back to change her clothes and left the house with Qin Haodong. Not far from their apartment, there was a bar called Blue Tone. The two of them walked in arm. As soon as they stepped into the bar, they heard the wild music coming from inside. The whole air was filled with a wild atmosphere. In the bar, countless men and women were crazily twisting their bodies on the dance floor. Unlike the bars in Huaxia, this bar almost included people of all skin colors on the earth. Whether they were black, white, or yellow, they were all releasing their inner passion. Under the colorful neon lights, a tattooed girl with only a pair of underwear was holding a steel pipe in the middle of the dance floor, twisting her body like a snake. Qin Haodong had no interest in this kind of woman. He just glanced at her and then pulled Shiyumi to the bar counter. Behind the bar counter, a bartender with a flowing Mohican hairstyle was playing with a bottle of wine in his hand, making continuous acrobatic movements. Qin Haodong and Shiyumi sat down, and the bartender said, "What would you like to drink?" Shiyumi said, 2 glasses of flaming lips." "Please wait a moment. It'll be ready soon." Flaming lips was a kind of cocktail. After saying that, the bartender began to make it skillfully. Qin Haodong asked, "Why do you want to drink this kind of wine?" Shiyumi turned around and looked at him with blurred eyes under the neon lights. She said, "I've seen this kind of wine in a magazine. It said that red can make people think of fire, blood, and the sun. It can also make people enjoy passion and stir up the hidden fire in people's hearts. So I want a glass of it. Hello, is the wine ready? The bartender's movements were extremely skillful. Soon, 2 glasses of extremely beautiful cocktails were placed in front of them. Shiyumi picked up the glass and took a sip. After tasting it, she said, "It tastes good." At this time, a man with holes all over his body came over and said to Shiyumi, "Miss, may I have the honor to dance with you?" Shiyumi turned around and smiled at him. "Sorry, my man doesn't like me to dance with others." Dong Dong faked a smile and turned around to look for other prey. An Oriental woman with outstanding appearance and elegant temperament like Shiyumi was undoubtedly a dazzling light in the bar. Although Chin Haodong was by her side, 3 or 4 men still came over to strike up a conversation with her in a short time. After the 2 of them drank a glass of wine, a charming blush appeared on Shiyumi's fair and tender cheeks. "See? So many people have invited me to dance. Don't you have any thoughts?" Chin Haodong said, "What thoughts do you want me to have?" "Of course it's the thoughts a man should have." Seeing that Chin Haodong's eyes were still clear, a trace of disappointment flashed across Shiyumi's eyes. "Am I not charming enough, or do you like Western food? Let me tell you, in fact, my breasts are no smaller than those Western women." As she spoke, she stuck out her full chest and pressed it tightly against Chin Haodong's arm. Chin Haodong was embarrassed. It seemed that she had overheard his conversation with the foreign woman during the day. "I didn't mean that. You are very charming and charming." Shiyumi's delicate red lips came close to his ear and said, "Then tell me, do you like me or not?" Chin Haodong said, "You are such a beautiful woman. You are beautiful and elegant. If I say I don't like you, it would be a lie. But we haven't known each other for a long time, and I just like you, not to the extent of love. And I've already told you that I have many girlfriends." "You're lying. If you don't love me, why did you hand over $300 million to me? Do you know how much money it is? Aren't you afraid that I'll run away with it?" Chin Haodong said, "In my eyes, money is always just a bunch of numbers. It can't be compared with human feelings. Even our friendship is more precious than $300 million. In fact, you didn't run away with the money." Shiyumi said with a chagrined face, "Are you so stubborn? Is it so difficult for you to accept me? I've already said that I don't care about your girlfriend. What else do you want from me?" Chin Haodong said, "But I do care. You're so unromantic. I won't talk to you anymore." Shiyumi snorted and turned her head away, like an angry wife. At this time, a young man in a white shirt with a mustache came over and said to Shiyumi in a gentlemanly manner, "Beautiful lady, can I have a dance with you?" Shiyumi originally wanted to refuse, but she glanced at Chin Haodong, who was indifferent next to her, and said angrily, "Okay." After that, she followed the mustache man to the dance floor. But as soon as she came in, she regretted it. The bar was dim, so she didn't think there was anything special here. But as soon as she got closer, she found that the dancers here were all tightly pressed together. Many of them were touching each other while dancing, which made her blush. But since she was already here, she couldn't just leave her alone. She could only hope that the mustache man was as gentlemanly as he was and wouldn't do anything too excessive. As if he could see that Shiyumi was nervous, the mustache man said, "Don't be nervous. We're all here to have fun, aren't we?" Shiyumi bit her lip and nodded slightly. Then, she began to dance with the mustache man. At first, the mustache man behaved well, but as time went by, the hand that was holding her slender waist began to move down slowly. Later, he put his hand on her buttocks and pinched her. "Ah!" Shiyumi let out a scream and turned around to run away. But the mustache man grabbed her hand and put his arm around her waist. He refused to let go at all, and his hairy mouth also came close to her. "Bastard, let go of me." Shiyumi put one hand on the mustache man's chest and struggled desperately. But this kind of thing was very common in the bar, and the music was very loud, so the people around didn't pay much attention to it. Sitting at the bar, Qin Haodong saw all this clearly. He couldn't help shaking his head and stepping toward the dance floor. Seeing Qin Haodong approaching, the mustache man seemed to relax a little and let go of Shiyumi's hand. But just as Shiyumi breathed a sigh of relief and was about to turn around and leave, the mustache man suddenly took out a pistol from his back and pointed the black muzzle at Qin Haodong from under Shiyumi's armpit. His movement was very secret and ingenious. With Shiyumi as a cover, no one could even see him draw the gun. But Shiyumi saw it clearly. Her beautiful face suddenly turned pale. Seeing that the mustache man was about to pull the trigger, she hurriedly shouted, "Haodong, watch out." Then, she twisted her body and directly blocked the muzzle of the mustache man's gun. It seemed to be a silencer. With a puff, the bullet went into Shiyumi's body. The mustache man was startled. He didn't expect that Shiyumi would use her body to protect Qin Haodong. Just as he raised the pistol and was about to shoot again, a big hand had already grabbed his neck and twisted his cervical vertebra with a crack. Although the bar was in a mess, Qin Haodong's spirit saw everything clearly, including Shiyumi blocking the bullet for him. After killing the mustache man, he held the limp Shiyumi in his arms and asked nervously, "How are you?" Shiyumi put on a sad but beautiful smile and said, "I'm fine. I'm willing to die for you. Don't talk nonsense. I'm here. You won't die," Qin Haodong said as he held her in his arms and walked out of the bar. At this time, the guests in the bar also found that someone was dead. They screamed and retreated to both sides. Among the crowd, another black man raised his pistol at Qin Haodong. Chapter 8:12. The black man was originally a killer team with the mustache man. The two of them had always cooperated tacitly and had always been successful. But this time, before he could make a move, the mustache man's neck was broken. His partner was killed, but the black man did not panic too much. With his years of experience, he hid in the crowd and secretly raised his pistol at Qin Haodong. But before he could pull the trigger, a silver light suddenly flashed in front of his eyes, and then he lost consciousness. Qin Haodong killed the black man with a silver needle. He did not stop at all. He took Shiyumi out of the bar and rushed to their apartment at top speed. After entering the door, he gently put Shiyumi on the bed and casually tore off her shirt that was already stained with blood. Shiyumi was still conscious, and Qin Haodong had stopped her bleeding in time, so she was not too affected. Seeing that her shirt was torn off, her originally pale face flushed red, and she reached out to cover her chest. "Don't move. Let me take out the bullet for you," Qin Haodong said as he scanned the bullet in Shiyumi's body with his divine sense. He was slightly stunned. The bullet had been shot into the left side of her chest, but it did not hurt her heart and lungs. It was a blessing in misfortune. He asked Shiyumi to sit cross-legged and reached out to pat her on the corresponding position of her chest. With a snap, the bullet ejected from the wound and bounced on the opposite wall. After taking out the bullet, Qin Haodong carefully treated her wound. Then, he applied the ointment and covered her with a blanket. "Okay, it's all right." Shiyumi moved her arm and found that the painful wound was no longer painful. Except for a little itch on the spot where the ointment had been applied, she couldn't even feel that she had just been injured. She said in surprise, "You've cured it so quickly?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "You're very lucky. The bullet didn't hurt your heart or lungs, so it's very easy to treat. Your medical skills are really amazing. If I had been sent to the hospital, I'm afraid it would have taken me a long time to save her." Qin Haodong said, "It was too dangerous today. You didn't have to do this at all. Remember, don't do such stupid things again. These killers can't hurt me at all." After his cultivation reached the Saint Realm, it was difficult for him to be hurt unless it was a weapon of mass destruction. Shiyumi said with a red face, "I didn't think so much at that time. When I saw him suddenly shooting at you, I subconsciously blocked him." Qin Haodong took her hand and said, "No matter what, I have to thank you. Yumi threw herself into his arms and sobbed, I thought I was going to die just now. In fact, it doesn't matter if I die. Anyway, I have no one to rely on and no family, but I'm afraid of losing you. As she threw herself, the blanket slipped, and her smooth upper body was completely exposed in the air. Qin Haodong reached out and patted her on the back. Don't worry. As long as I'm here, you can't die even if you want to. But be careful in the future. Don't do such a stupid thing again. I'll protect you from everything. I don't care. In any case, you must have me today. Otherwise, if you die a virgin, you will definitely be laughed at. As Yumi spoke, she pushed Qin Haodong onto the bed and kissed him fiercely. After a long time, she raised her head shyly, but her hands kept unbuttoning Qin Haodong's clothes. At this time, she was lying on Qin Haodong's body. When she raised her head, her breasts were exposed to Qin Haodong's sight. Looking at the couple in front of him at such a close distance, Qin Haodong couldn't help but feel aroused. But he still suppressed the fire in his heart, looked away, and said, Don't move. You've just been injured. Otherwise, it will aggravate your injury and leave a scar. Every woman loved to look beautiful. Hearing that her body would be left with a scar, Yumi immediately stopped. Qin Haodong quickly pulled over the blanket and covered her body. Although she stopped, Yumi still said angrily, Am I not attractive to you? If you hadn't had so many girlfriends, would have suspected that there was something wrong with you. Why would there be anything wrong with me? It's just that it's really not the right time. Qin Haodong changed the topic and said, Why did I suddenly meet a killer when I went to a bar? Hearing the mustache, Yumi's attention was immediately diverted. She said with lingering fear, Is that man a killer? It's terrible. Is someone trying to kill you? He must be a killer, and he came for me, but I don't know the situation yet. Qin Haodong said, You take a rest first. I'll make a phone call. He asked Yumi to lie on the bed, then covered her with the quilt and turned to walk to another room. He took out his mobile phone and dialed Donnie Randall's number, but no one answered. He couldn't help frowning. What was going on? If the two killers were directly sent by Angel Pharmaceutical or the Jared family, it would be understandable. But if they were found through the deep web, and Donnie Randall didn't answer his phone, then there must be a problem. Just then, his cell phone rang again. It was a call from Donnie Randall. Qin, I just went to take a shower. Why did you call me at this time? Donnie Randall's voice was still sweet and even a little coquettish. Oh. Qin Haodong said, I just met two killers in the Blue Tone bar. As soon as he said that, Donnie Randall asked with concern, How did this happen? Are you hurt? Although it was a phone call, Qin Haodong could still clearly feel that her concern was completely sincere. The doubt that had just arisen in his mind suddenly disappeared. I'm fine. Help me find out where these two killers came from. Wait a moment. Donnie Randall said as she turned on the computer. After checking the web page, she said, I was just taking a shower for a while. Someone posted a bounty on the deep web to kill you. The bounty is $100 million. Now more than a dozen killers have accepted this task. Qin Haodong asked, Do you know who did it? Donnie Randall used her authority to inquire about the employer and said, I don't know who did it, but the money came from Angel Pharmaceutical. Qin Haodong nodded. It was really them. He had just destroyed their underground experimental base, and these people immediately hired killers to retaliate against him. However, it could also be seen from this that the alien demon had not planned to take action yet. Donnie Randall said, Do you want me to help you cancel this assassination task? Not now. Qin Haodong said, It's not necessary for the time being. It won't be of much use, and it will also let them know the relationship between us. These killers could only cause some trouble for him, but they could not cause any substantial threat at all. Donnie Randall was now one of his trump cards, and he would definitely not expose it unless it was absolutely necessary. Well, I'll let you know if there's anything important. Donnie Randall was still a little worried and said, the most powerful of these killers is called the Thousand-Faced Enchantress. Since she started to be a killer, she has never failed and her success rate is 100%. Moreover, her identity is extremely secretive. Everyone only knows that she is a woman, but no one knows her true face, because every time she assassinates someone, she will appear in a different image. Moreover, this woman is very good at martial arts, and it's impossible to guard against her assassination. She is definitely a dangerous target. You must be careful. I see. Qin Haodong hung up the phone. When he returned to his room, he found that Shiyumi had already fallen asleep. He simply washed up and went back to his room to rest. The next morning, Shiyumi had recovered from her injury and seemed to be in good spirits. She also got up early to cook breakfast for Qin Haodong. During the meal, she said to Qin Haodong, I need your help with something. Go ahead, as long as I can help you. Qin Haodong said while eating the steak. You said it. Don't go back on your word. Shiyumi smiled slyly and said, the male model whose leg was broken yesterday is one of the best models I signed. Originally, I designed a set of men's clothes for him, and he is very likely to win the award of this fashion week. But now he is injured and time is running out. I can't find a suitable model, and I don't want my meticulous design to go to waste, so I want you to help me replace that male model. Hearing that he was going to be a model, Qin Haodong quickly put down his chopsticks and said, no, absolutely not. Shiyumi said with a pitiful look, but you just said that you would help me. I did say that I would help you, but I have to do what I can. I've never been a model before. You'll be lucky if you don't make a fool of yourself, let alone win an award. I can't help you at all. I think you can definitely do it. Shiyumi said as she approached Qin Haodong. She stretched out two white and tender fingers to lift his chin and said, you're so handsome and have a good figure. It's a pity that you don't become a model. The theme of this fashion week is nature. The clothes I designed also highlight the natural and refined temperament. You have the best temperament I've ever seen. You're 10 times better than that male model. You're the most suitable candidate. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, don't make things difficult for me. I've never been a model, and I don't know how to walk on the runway. It doesn't matter. I can teach you. I think with your talent, you'll definitely learn it soon. Didn't you say that the fashion week is going to start today? There's no time at all. Shiyumi said, there's still time. The fashion week will start in the evening. We still have one day. With an excellent teacher like me and an excellent student like you, I'm sure you can learn it. Well, Qin Haodong was still a little hesitant. He was a doctor and didn't like to show his face on the runway. You promised to help me. You can't go back on your word. Shiyumi said as she hugged Qin Haodong's arm. Her bulging chest kept rubbing against it. She was only wearing a nightdress, and half of her snow-white and towering curves were exposed. Her movements made her even more attractive. Okay, I give up. I promise you, okay? Qin Haodong had no choice but to sign an unfair contract. I knew you would definitely help me. Shiyumi said as she simply tidied up the room and used it as a runway. Then she took out the suit and put it on Qin Haodong. The two of them began to practice in the room. Qin Haodong had his spirit. After watching the videos of other male models walking twice, he had almost mastered the essentials of the runway. After that, under Shiyumi's guidance, the two of them walked back and forth in the room and gradually got into a good state. It only took them one morning to completely master the essentials of the runway. Shiyumi excitedly kissed him on the cheek and said, I told you that you're the best. Chapter 8:13. After lunch, Shiyumi took Qin Haodong to Lincoln Center for the final rehearsal. To his surprise, the female model with him turned out to be the long-legged sister. Qin, I'm really glad to see you again, and I'm even happier to be your partner. The long-legged sister came over and gave Qin Haodong a big hug. Although he didn't reach out to touch her, he could still feel the fullness and elasticity of her breasts. He couldn't help but sigh secretly. He really didn't know how these foreign women grew up. They were more than 1.8 meters tall, and their breasts were so magnificent. "Chin, my name is Katia. Let's get started." After that, the two of them began to rehearse. After a short run-in, the two of them quickly formed a tacit understanding. Shiyumi was very satisfied to see the state of the two of them. There were still a lot of things to do before the start of the competition. She left Chin Haodong to train here and turned around to do something else. During the break, Katia took Chin Haodong to a corner backstage. "Chin, you are the most outstanding man I've ever seen. You have good medical skills, good martial arts, and so rich. You're even so outstanding on the runway. You're really excellent." Chin Haodong smiled and said, "I think so too. Can you let me be your girlfriend? I really like you. In your Huaxia language, it's called love at first sight. I've fallen in love with you since we met yesterday, and I can't help it." Chin Haodong said with a smile, "Miss Katia, thank you for your favor, but I already have a girlfriend." "It doesn't matter. Many successful people in M country have many girlfriends. I don't care." After that, the long-legged sister directly held Chin Haodong in her arms and kissed him unscrupulously. She was 1.80 meters tall, about the same height as Chin Haodong. Coupled with a pair of 10-centimeter high heels, she seemed to be condescending when she kissed him. They were kissing passionately, but suddenly Katia's expression changed and she looked at Chin Haodong in horror. Chin Haodong looked at her with a smile. "How about it? Are you a little surprised? I really don't understand why you killers don't have brains. You've seen my skills yesterday, but you still dared to assassinate me. In the words of our Huaxia people, this is called risking your life to earn money. Do you think you can succeed with your little tricks?" As he spoke, he grabbed Katia's hand that was behind his back, and it was holding a shiny scalpel. A hint of panic flashed through Katia's eyes. This kind of knife was made of special steel and was extremely sharp. Usually, it would not have any difficulty cutting into the human body. She had concealed everything very well before. She wanted to use the scalpel as the last blow and directly pierce Chin Haodong's back. Unfortunately, she did not expect that the scalpel could not pierce through Chin Haodong's protective genuine chi. Katia begged, "Chin, please let me go this time. I won't dare to do it again. There's an old saying in Huaxia that the more beautiful a woman is, the less trustworthy she is. Do you think I can believe you?" Chin Haodong reached out and patted her cheek. "Tell me, are you the thousand-faced enchantress?" Katia put on a pitiful expression. "No, I'm really not the thousand-faced temptress. I'm just a regular assassin who was greedy when I saw the reward of $100 million. You can do whatever you want, but let me be your slave. You can be my slave, but please don't kill me, okay? You're a beautiful woman, but why do you have to be a thief? You're good as a model and you're not short of money. Why do you have to be a killer?" Chin Haodong stared into Katia's eyes and said, "I really don't know whether you're a professional killer and an amateur model, or a professional killer and an amateur model. But all of this is not important. Since you want to kill, you should be prepared to be killed." After that, he raised his hand and pointed at Katia's heart. The greenwood genuine chi had already broken her heart meridians. Katia's long legs went limp and she fell to the ground with a plop. In order not to affect Shiyumi's competition, Chin Haodong had to put on a full show. He picked up Katia and hurried into the infirmary next door. "Doctor, please take a look." She suddenly fell down. The doctor hurriedly carried Katia into the ambulance. After a round of rescue, it was determined that Katia was overly nervous before the competition and eventually died of a sudden myocardial infarction. Katia's death made the atmosphere before the competition even heavier, but soon Shiyumi replaced another model with Chin Haodong's partner. At 9:00 in the evening, the first show of the fashion week officially began. Chin Haodong walked onto the runway in the men's suit carefully made by Shiyumi. After entering the early stage of the nascent soul realm, he had already mastered the way of nature. His whole person had become one with nature, and his temperament was completely in line with this set of men's clothes. In addition, he was quite handsome. Along the way, the rich ladies and ladies under the stage kept screaming and asking about his personal information. Although it was the first time he walked on the runway, the performance was undoubtedly a success. After getting off the stage, Shiyumi happily rushed over, hugged Qin Haodong's neck, and kissed him hard on the cheek. "Haodong, your performance was really outstanding. I really love you." She took Qin Haodong's hand and went to the exclusive fitting room next door. "To celebrate our success, let's have a good toast." Shiyumi picked up the prepared red wine and poured a glass for Qin Haodong and herself. "Honey, come on, let's have a toast." As she spoke, she raised the red wine glass in her hand, gently clinked it with Qin Haodong's, and then drank it up. Qin Haodong glanced at her and drank up the wine in his hand. Shiyumi said, "How is it? The wine tastes good, doesn't it?" "It's really good. The red wine with the intestine-severing powder is really different." Qin Haodong stared at Shiyumi and said with a teasing look, "If you add some Crane's Crown red wine, it will taste even better." She didn't expect that Qin Haodong would see through the poison in the wine. Shiyumi's expression changed drastically. A shiny dagger in her right hand shot out and quickly stabbed at Qin Haodong's throat. Although this woman had never cultivated internal strength, her speed had already reached the level of an internal strength warrior. If it were an ordinary person, he would definitely be killed with one blow. But this kind of cultivation was nothing in front of a saint. Qin Haodong only stretched out 2 fingers and tightly clamped the dagger in Shiyumi's hand. Shiyumi's expression changed slightly. She immediately gave up the dagger and took out 2 short knives again. She quickly stabbed at Qin Haodong's lower abdomen. "You won't give up until you see the coffin." Qin Haodong raised his leg. Before the 2 daggers could stab into his lower abdomen, his foot had already kicked Shiyumi in the chest. Like a cannonball, Shiyumi hit the wall behind her with a thud and then fell hard to the ground. The 2 short knives also flew out. She spat out a mouthful of blood. Knowing that things were not good, she bounced up from the ground and ran out of the door. Before she could run a few steps, a big hand grabbed her neck and pressed her against the wall behind her. "Thousand-faced enchantress, right?" Qin Haodong said as he let go of her neck and raised his hand to poke the Shanzhong acupoint on her chest. Thousand-faced enchantress cried out in horror, "How did you know?" She had been a killer all her life and had never failed. This time, she disguised herself as Shiyumi and thought that she was flawless. She didn't know how the man in front of her saw through her. Qin Haodong looked at her and said with a smile, "You have 3 flaws in total. First, although you look no different from Shiyumi, you don't have her charm. Others may not be able to see through it, but I can see through it at a glance. Second, you haven't figured out the relationship between us. Although we live and eat together, we are just ordinary friends. She has never called me darling, which is a fatal mistake for a killer." Speaking of this, he glanced at Thousand-Faced Enchantress's chest again. "Although your fake breasts are about the same size as Shiyumi's, you used too many fake materials, so they don't look elastic at all. If you have a chance to be a killer in the future, remember not to dress up as a woman with bigger breasts than you. But it doesn't matter anymore, because you will never have the chance to be a killer again." As he spoke, Qin Haodong reached out and wiped Thousand-Faced Enchantress's face. The mask was taken off, and then an ugly face was revealed. Under the mask, Thousand-Faced Enchantress's face was not only full of freckles and pockmarks, but also had a long scar on the left side of her face, which was really disgusting. "I was worried that I wouldn't have the heart to kill her, but it seems that it's unnecessary." After saying that, Qin Haodong smashed Thousand-Faced Enchantress's heart meridian with his palm, and directly dragged her to the bathroom of the dressing room. He took out the body melting powder to melt her body, and then washed it with water. After doing all this, he went back outside, opened the door of the wardrobe next to him, and rescued Shiyumi from it. At this time, Shiyumi had been drugged and was already in a deep coma. Qin Haodong patted her a few times and used greenwood genuine qi to melt the drug away. Shiyumi slowly opened her eyes and saw Qin Haodong in front of her. She asked in confusion, "What's going on? Why did I suddenly fall asleep? Is the fashion week over? How was your performance?" Qin Haodong said, "A killer came just now. She drugged you and disguised herself as you to assassinate me." "What? Another killer came?" Shiyumi looked at Qin Haodong nervously and said, "How are you? Are you all right?" Qin Haodong helped her tidy up her messy clothes and said, "Don't worry, I'm fine." Shiyumi breathed a sigh of relief and said, "What about the killer? Should we call the police?" "No need. The killer has already run away. It's useless to call the police. We can only rely on ourselves to solve this kind of thing." Shiyumi nodded, took his hand and said, "I don't know about fighting and killing. I just hope you're all right. Don't worry, these little killers can't do anything to me." As soon as Qin Haodong finished speaking, the cell phone in his pocket rang. "Take a rest first. I'll answer the phone." After saying that, he walked out with his cell phone. Behind him, a complicated look flashed across Shiyumi's eyes. Qin Haodong pressed the answer button and Ma Wenjua's excited voice came from the other side of the phone. "Haodong, I've arrived in City N. According to your request, I've brought 30 brothers from the Daddy Security Company. All of them are above the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm. Good. You guys take a rest and follow my orders tomorrow." After the encounter with the killer in the bar yesterday, Qin Haodong came up with a countermeasure. Since the Angel Company didn't want to show up, he would force them to show up. He called Ma Wenjua and 30 experts above the 7th level of the Supreme Power Realm from China. After the Fashion Week activities, Qin Haodong took Shiyumi back to the apartment. The next day, Shiyumi went to Lincoln Center to participate in the rest of the activities. Qin Haodong went to the building of the Angel Pharmaceutical Company alone. This was the headquarters of the Angel Company. All the business was carried out here. Since the hidden forces refused to show up, he decided to start from here and force the people hiding behind the scenes to show up. Chapter 8:14. The office building of Angel Pharmaceutical had 18 floors. As one of the top pharmaceutical companies in the world, Angel Pharmaceutical had made a lot of money over the years. The decoration was extremely luxurious and it looked magnificent. After entering the building, a beautiful receptionist came up to him and said politely to Qin Haodong, "Sir, what business do you have with Angel Pharmaceutical?" "I want to see your boss." The receptionist said, "Sir, do you have an appointment?" Qin Haodong smiled and said, "I don't even know who he is. How can I have an appointment? But you just need to tell him that Qin Haodong is here. He will definitely see me." Well, the receptionist was a little hesitant. Was this Huaxia man famous? She had never heard of him before. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "You can try calling him. Otherwise, you can't afford the consequences." "All right then." The receptionist didn't think that Qin Haodong was a liar. After hesitating for a moment, she finally called him. On the 18th floor of the building, Varen was sitting in a large boss's chair, constantly flirting with the female secretary in front of him. Just as he was about to put his big hand into the female secretary's collar, the phone on the table suddenly rang. He frowned. Who was so stupid as to call him at this time? He picked up the phone with a sullen face and heard the receptionist say, "General Manager, a man named Qin Haodong is downstairs. He wants to see you." "What? What did you say his name was?" Varen, who had been sitting calmly a moment ago, suddenly felt as if his butt was on fire. He pushed the female secretary away and jumped up from the chair. Although he was not the head of the Angel Group, he was pushed to take charge of such a large industry and was also one of the core members. Naturally, he knew Qin Haodong's name. However, he didn't expect that this devil, whom the organization was extremely afraid of, would come to him in person. The receptionist was also shocked by Varen's reaction. She said again, "He said his name is Qin Haodong. Should I let him go up? Wait for my call." After hanging up the phone, Varen waved the female secretary out. Then he picked up another phone on the table and made a call. Soon, Klinsmann's face appeared on the big screen opposite him. "Varen, what can I do for you?" "Here's the thing, boss. Qin Haodong is here. He's at the front desk downstairs now. Should I see him?" "What? Qin Haodong is here?" Klinsmann was also taken aback. He had offered a bounty of $100 million on the deep web to hire a killer, thinking that Qin Haodong would leave M country because of the tireless assassination. He didn't expect that Qin Haodong would come to him. "Yeah, boss, do I want to see him or not?" "Yes, of course. You are in charge of legitimate businesses. Why are you afraid of him?" Varen said, "But what if he asks about the assassination? How should I answer?" Klinsmann said discontentedly, "Do you only think about women?" Of course, he couldn't admit that he needed me to teach him this kind of thing. "Also, turn on the monitor. I want to see what this kid is here for." "Got it, boss." Varen hung up the phone and informed the receptionist to let Qin Haodong go upstairs. Then he turned on the secret surveillance camera in the room. In another secret room, Klinsmann looked at the image on the big screen and said to Mora, "What do you think this guy is doing here?" Mora said, "This guy never does things according to the rules. I'm not sure, but he has been assassinated 3 times in a row. It's very likely that he is here to make peace." Klinsmann hesitated for a moment and said, "Based on Qin Haodong's past performance, it's unlikely that he is here to make peace. It's very likely that he is here to punish us." Mora sneered and said, "Angel Company is a legitimate business. What's the use of him going there to punish us? Don't tell me you dare to smash our building?" While they were talking, Qin Haodong stepped into Varen's spacious office under the guidance of the receptionist. After entering, he didn't wait for Varen to receive him. He sat on the wide sofa as if he were at home. Looking at the young man in front of him, Varen said, "Mr. Qin, what can I do for you?" Qin Haodong said, "Don't you know why I'm here? Have you talked to your boss just now? Have you thought about how to deal with me?" Varen's heart skipped a beat. He didn't expect that the young man would even guess this. But after all, he was also an experienced man, so his expression remained calm. "Mr. Qin, I don't know what you're talking about. We are serious businessmen." Qin Haodong looked at him and sneered, "Someone on the deep web offered a reward of $100 million to assassinate me. Did you do it?" Varen had already made up his mind. He said, "Mr. Qin, I've already said that we are doing legal business here. How could it have anything to do with killers? If there's nothing else, please leave. Don't disturb our normal work." Qin Haodong ignored him. He looked around the office and said to a beautiful mural on the wall, "Although I don't know who you are, I guess you must be watching me." Klinsmann, who was staring at the big screen, was startled. He said to Mora, "This guy actually found us." Mora said, "Boss, we don't need to be nervous. At most, he found the camera. It's impossible for him to find our headquarters." Qin Haodong continued, "If you want to kill me, come to me in person. Don't play these dirty tricks. They're useless to me." Seeing that Qin Haodong had found the camera, Varen was shocked at first, then he said with a sullen face, "Mr. Qin, if there's nothing else, please leave." Qin Haodong then said to the camera, "Hurry up and remove the assassination task on the deep web, or you can't afford the consequences." Mora said, "This guy dares to threaten us. I really don't know what he has to threaten us." Klinsmann smiled proudly and said, "Since he made this request, it proves that he is tired of being annoyed by these killers. I believe that he will soon run out of M country." Qin Haodong seemed to have finished speaking. He stood up and walked around the office. Then he said to Varen, "In Huaxia, the 18th floor is another name for hell. This floor is very bad. Varen said gloomily, Mr. Cheen, please leave now, or I'll call the security guards right away. At the same time, under the building of Angel Pharmaceutical, a group of people came up. These people were dressed in strange clothes. They were all heroes in Marvel movies. The one in the front was Spider-Man, and the one next to him was the Hulk. There were many other characters behind them, such as Captain America, Iron Man, Wasp, Thor, and even villains such as Thanatos. It was a large collection of Marvel characters. Nowadays, the Avengers produced by Marvel Company was playing in all the major cinemas, so people were not surprised by the appearance of these characters. They thought it was just an activity made by Marvel fans, or an advertisement by Marvel Company. Many people went to take photos with their favorite characters. Spider-Man, who was walking in the front, was the most coquettish. From time to time, he flirted with the beautiful women passing by, taking advantage of them and taking advantage of them. Zhang Tinyu, who was dressed as Hulk, was tall, and Ma Wenjue was dressed as Spider-Man. Zhang Tinyu whispered to the microphone in his ear, Brother Ma, is this appropriate? Isn't it too ostentatious? Ma Wenjue said with a smile, it's good. It's cool and no one knows us. We can also take advantage of the beautiful women. As he spoke, he took advantage of the chest of the beauty who was taking a photo with him, causing the beauty to giggle. Saber, who was dressed as Iron Man, asked, when are we going to do it? Ma Wenjue said, the boss said that we will start after 10 minutes. There is still 1 minute left. Tell us the next task. We have to move fast after we go in. Our goal is to destroy the facilities and try not to kill anyone. We will meet on the roof in 5 minutes and then evacuate together. Got it. After hearing his order, the others answered in unison. At this time, a 4 or 5-year-old boy ran over, stood in front of Ma Wenjue and said, Spider-Man, can you fly for me? Spider-Man patted the little boy's cheek and said, no problem. We'll take off right away. Then Ma Wenjue gave an order to the microphone, do it. After giving the order, everyone used their body movements and rushed to the Angel building together. Ma Wenjue had reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm. He had the highest cultivation among them and was also the fastest. In the blink of an eye, he arrived downstairs of the Angel building. Although he could not spit silk like Spider-Man, under the operation of his cultivation method, his palms and feet seemed to have suction cups. He climbed up the Angel building and reached the 17th floor in the blink of an eye. At this time, the people on the street were dumbfounded. They had never expected that Iron Man and Spider-Man would really come to their lives and show magical power. That Spider-Man is so powerful. He climbs so fast. What is he doing? Is he making a movie? But I don't see where the wire is. It can't be a movie. Otherwise, how could Thanos cooperate with Thunder God? Even Iron Man climbed upstairs. What are they going to do? Under many surprised eyes, the Marvel characters in front of them climbed up the Angel building together. They were distributed in an orderly manner, leaving 12 people on each floor. A female employee of the Angel building was making a cup of coffee. She had just sat by the window and was about to enjoy it when she suddenly saw Spider-Man's face appear in front of her. Oh my God, what am I seeing? Just as she was about to call other colleagues, she saw Spider-Man raise his fist and punch the glass of the French window. With a crash, the thick glass was smashed into pieces. Then Spider-Man rushed in from the outside. In terms of destructive power, Ma Wenjue, who had reached the 9th level of the Supreme Power Realm, was much stronger than the real Spider-Man. After entering the 17th floor, he was like a humanoid tank, turning everything in his way into ruins. Fortunately, his target was only the facilities in the building and he did not attack anyone. Oh no, Spider-Man is coming. Run. The employees in the office building did not know what was going on. They ran out of the building in panic. Several security guards were about to rush over to stop him, but they were sent flying by Ma Wenjue's punch. The same was true for the other floors. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. The destructive power of these Marvel characters was so amazing that in just a few minutes, the Angel building was completely destroyed. The people in the office building fled in panic, and soon the entire building became empty. At the same time, the phone of the police station in N City was almost blown up. At first, when the police officers heard that Spider-Man and Iron Man were attacking the Angel building, they thought it was a prank. However, as more and more people called, they took it seriously. This chapter is about the big shots. Fat cat rolls here and there. Chapter 8:15. After confirming that the Angel building had been attacked, the police station of M Country immediately took action as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Countless police cars roared toward the Angel building. On the 18th floor of the Angel building, there was a big screen opposite the desk. Every floor of the office building could be clearly seen. At this time, Varen was completely dumbfounded as he looked at the scene on the big screen. The characters who used to live in Marvel could now destroy several rooms with a single punch. A casual kick could cause the house to collapse. In just a few minutes, the once luxurious Angel building had been reduced to rubble. It was a horrible sight. What the hell is going on? Varen slammed the table and roared. Chin Haodong sat back on the sofa and crossed his legs. He looked at him with a smile and said, I can give you the answer. Your Angel company has done too many bad things, so God has sent someone to punish you. Varen's eyes were bloodshot as he shouted, Nonsense, you must have done this, right? Although this was not the nest of Angel company, it had been built with a lot of money. The loss this time almost made him collapse. At this moment, a wall of his president's office collapsed with a bang. Ma Wenjue and the others rushed in from the outside. The other floors had all been smashed, leaving only the last 18 floors. There was strength in numbers. With the joint efforts of 31 people, it only took a few seconds for the entire 18th floor of the building to be turned into rubble, except for the sofa where Chin Haodong was sitting. The Hulk grabbed Varen by the ankle and slammed him hard against the wall behind him. After doing all this, Iron Man raised his hand and punched a big hole in the roof. The crowd jumped out from the roof of the Angel building, jumped to the roof of another building not far away, and quickly disappeared. At this time, hundreds of police officers had surrounded the entire Angel building. However, the elevator had been damaged. These police officers were already panting when they climbed to the 18th floor. Director Carter of the police station was especially panting. He originally weighed nearly 150 kilograms. When he climbed to the 18th floor, he looked no better than Varen, who had been beaten up. He was panting heavily with his mouth open. When he saw the police, Varen immediately got up from the ground as if he had seen his savior. He pointed at Chin Haodong and shouted, Director Carter, you're finally here. This guy asked someone to smash our Angel building. He's the culprit. We must arrest him. Carter was finally panting. He glared at Varen and said, This gentleman is sitting here. There is no evidence to prove that he has anything to do with these criminals. We are a country ruled by law. We need evidence to arrest people. Although Angel Company belonged to one of the large consortiums in M Country, he had received a call from the Jared family before he came here. He could not touch this young man in any case. Although he knew that it was Chin Haodong who did it, he really couldn't produce any evidence. Carter licked his bloody lips and said helplessly, Director Carter, you saw it too. The whole building was smashed, but he's the only one who's fine. This means that he's with those people. Chin Haodong put down his legs and stood up from the sofa. He looked at him playfully and said, Mr. Varen, you can't say that. They didn't hit me. Maybe it's because I'm too handsome. He took another look at the mural on the ground. The quality of the camera on the opposite side was good. It was still working. Hurry up and cancel the task, or God will punish you again. After that, he left the Angel building leisurely. Get out of here. On the other side of the camera, Klinsman grabbed a wine glass and smashed it on the ground to vent his anger. Mora's face was livid. He had just predicted that Qin Haodong would not dare to do anything to Angel Building, but now it was smashed so thoroughly that they couldn't find any loopholes. A large number of police officers completely blocked the entire Angel Building. After searching from the roof to the basement, they found no trace of the criminals. In desperation, Director Carter returned to the police station with his men and issued arrest warrants for Spider-Man, the Hulk, and other criminals. After the police left, Fei Long immediately took out his cell phone and dialed Klinsmann's number. As soon as the phone was connected, Klinsmann growled on the other side of the phone, "Tell me, how much did you lose this time?" Varen wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and said, "Boss, these people are too ruthless. The entire Angel Building has been smashed. Except for the sofa under Qin Haodong's, but there's nothing left. Don't talk nonsense. I'm asking you to report the losses." Klinsmann's heart was bleeding when he suffered such a huge financial loss. "Oh. Well, boss, the direct economic loss is about $1 billion. In addition, in order to prevent hackers from destroying the scientific research data of the 3 laboratories in our building, they are all stored on standalone computers. Now the computer chips have been completely destroyed and can't be restored. Because of this accidental smashing, we can't fulfill the contract we signed. The compensation for breach of contract will be an astronomical figure. Also, the damage to the reputation of our Angel Group this time is immeasurable. Bastard. Bastard." Klinsmann slammed his cell phone on the ground. Originally, he just wanted to use the power of the deep web to force Qin Haodong out of M country, but he didn't expect that it would cause such a huge loss to the Angel Group. In the organization behind him, the Angel Group's responsibility was to be responsible for financial security. Especially after the collapse of Wilson Company, the higher-ups had strictly ordered them not to have any financial problems. Now that they had suffered such a huge loss, he was afraid that the organization's punishment would be inevitable. Mora also realized this. He asked nervously, "Boss, what should we do? This devil dared to destroy my place. I'll kill him today even if I have to risk my life." A crazy look flashed in Klinsmann's eyes. "Increase the reward of the deep web to $500 million. I don't believe that an overwhelming number of killers can't kill him." Mora said, "But how should we explain it to the higher-ups?" Klinsmann said, "As long as we kill Qin Haodong, the higher-ups won't punish us even if we lose the entire Angel Group." Qin Haodong left the Angel Building and was about to go to Lincoln Center to watch the model performance of the Fashion Week. At this time, his cell phone rang. It was Donnie Randall. He answered the phone and asked, "How is it going? What's the response from Angel Pharmaceutical?" Donnie Randall said nervously, Angel Pharmaceutical suddenly increased the reward from $100 million to $500 million. Now many killers who haven't been out for many years have taken this task. Is it getting worse?" Qin Haodong sneered. "It seems that the pressure of destroying the Angel Building is not enough. I'll see how long he can hold on." Then he hung up the phone with Donnie Randall, dialed Ma Wenjua's number, and issued a series of orders. After the phone call, he smiled playfully, turned the car around, and drove directly to the police station of N City. Carter was sitting in his office worrying. The case that happened in the Angel Building was obviously the work of a master. These people had godlike power, and ordinary people like them could not catch them at all. Just as he was thinking about how to deal with it, the office door suddenly opened and Qin Haodong walked in happily. Carter was stunned to see him. He had a close relationship with the Jared family, and old Jared had just told him not to provoke this young man surnamed Qin. Because of this, he did not make things difficult for Qin Haodong in the Angel Building, but he did not expect that this man would come to him again. "Mr. Qin, what can I do for you?" Qin Haodong sat opposite Carter happily and said, "Director Carter, I'm a little thirsty. Can I have a cup of coffee here?" Carter was a little confused. He did not know what Qin Haodong was up to, but since Qin Haodong was here, he could only entertain him warmly. He quickly asked his secretary to make a cup of good coffee for Qin Haodong. This coffee tastes good. Chin Haodong leisurely took a sip of the coffee and said, Director Carter, you go ahead with your business. Don't worry about me. I'll rest here for 2 hours and leave in less than 2 hours. Carter did not understand what Chin Haodong was going to do, but Chin Haodong did not have any special requirements. He just wanted to sit here for 2 hours. Outside the police station, the killers who had accepted the task were completely dumbfounded. Chin Haodong had been hiding in the police station. How could they kill him? Even though they were very arrogant and had countless ways to kill people, they would not go to the police station to assassinate a master, would they? In the secret room, Klinsmann said to Mora with a gloomy look, How is it? Is there any reaction from them? Not yet. That guy surnamed Xian seems to know that we are going to take revenge on him, so he has already hidden in the police station. Although there are many killers who have accepted the task, no one dares to go in and assassinate him. Klinsmann cursed angrily, Bastard, this cunning Huaxia man, let's see how long you can stay here. Just then, Mora's cell phone rang. After picking up the phone, his expression changed greatly. Boss, bad news. One of our pharmaceutical factories in City N was smashed by those Marvel heroes. Is he threatening me? Klinsmann cried, Is the loss great? Mora said with a bitter face, It's not much different from here. Basically, nothing was left. The entire pharmaceutical factory was destroyed. Devil. He is a devil. Klinsmann was so angry that he roared crazily. But at this moment, Mora's cell phone rang again. After picking up the phone, he said to Klinsmann, Boss, our branch in Neon was just attacked by unknown forces. Now it is completely paralyzed. Boss, our pharmaceutical factory in Neon was attacked by unknown forces. Boss, our pharmaceutical factory in Huaxia was seized. In less than half an hour, Klinsmann had received 6 or 7 pieces of bad news. He slowly found a pattern. The enemy attacked every 5 minutes, and every time they attacked, Angel Pharmaceutical would suffer great losses. The killers had not touched a hair of Chin Haodong, but they had been attacked again and again. The total loss had reached tens of billions. At this time, Klinsmann sat on the sofa dejectedly. He did not even have the strength to be angry. Mora was so anxious that he broke out in a cold sweat. Boss, Chin Haodong's power is really terrible. Why don't we cancel the task? Otherwise, we really can't bear it. Angel Company's business was extremely large. They had branches and pharmaceutical factories in major countries around the world, but now almost 1/5 of them had been destroyed. It was no exaggeration to say that they had suffered a great loss. Chapter 8:16. Klinsmann also realized that the entire Angel Pharmaceutical would be destroyed if he continued to resist. He sighed and said, Call Varen and ask him to negotiate with Chin Haodong. We fully agree to his conditions and ask him to stop immediately. Yes, boss. Mora didn't dare to delay and immediately called Varen. Chin Haodong was sitting in the director's office, drinking coffee leisurely. His cell phone rang in his pocket. He took it out and found it was a strange number. Then he pressed the answer button. As soon as the phone was connected, Varen's anxious voice came from the other side. Mr. Chin, I'm Varen from Angel Pharmaceutical. We fully accept the conditions you just put forward. We'll immediately cancel the task on the deep web. Please stop. My conditions? When did I make any conditions? Chin Haodong said in a relaxed tone, It's only been half an hour. I'm going to rest here for 2 hours. Hearing this, Varen's heart trembled. This guy would do it every 5 minutes. In 2 hours, half of Angel Pharmaceutical would be gone. Mr. Chin, please stop. We're very sincere. If you want to talk, we can. Just transfer the $500 million to my account and we'll let this matter go. What? Didn't you say that we could just cancel the task? Why do you want $500 million? Chin Haodong said, That was just now. There was such a good opportunity in front of you, but you didn't agree. Now it's $500 million, and 10 minutes later, it'll be $1 billion. Mr. Qin, I can't make the decision. Please wait for me to call my boss. Qin Haodong said leisurely, whatever. I'm not in a hurry. He was right. Klinsmann was in a hurry now. Just as Varen made the call, another affiliated pharmaceutical factory of Angel Pharmaceutical was smashed. So when he received Varen's call, although he was angry, he had no other choice. He could only say helplessly, we agree to his conditions and transfer $500 million to him immediately. Qin Haodong sat on the sofa. Only 3 minutes later, he received a notification that $500 million had been transferred to his account. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It seemed that Angel Pharmaceutical had investigated him thoroughly. They even knew his account information. At this time, his phone rang. It was Donnie Randall. Qin, how did you do it? Angel Pharmaceutical has withdrawn the assassination mission. Qin Haodong said, it's nothing. I'm just trying to influence them with my strength. After hanging up, Varen called, Mr. Qin, we've done everything according to your conditions. $500 million has been transferred to your account, and the task has been cancelled. Please stop immediately. All right, tell the person above you not to play such a low-level game with me in the future. Otherwise, he won't be able to afford it. Qin Haodong hung up the phone and sent a message to Ma Wenjue, Yagi Yukheim, and the others, asking them to stop. Finally, there was no more bad news. Klinsmann lay on the sofa like a pile of mud. He was about to collapse. He had always thought that it would not be a problem for him to deal with Qin Haodong with his strength and intelligence. However, he was played like a dog by Qin Haodong. After the assassination mission was issued, it didn't work at all. On the contrary, it caused Angel Pharmaceutical a loss of more than $10 billion. At that moment, his phone rang. Klinsmann looked at the number and immediately jumped up as if he had a cramp. He respectfully pressed the answer button. Master, what can I do for you? Klinsmann, do you think you're living a comfortable life? I told you not to provoke Qin Haodong for the time being. How dare you disobey my order and cause such a huge economic loss to the group? How should I punish you? The voice on the other side of the phone was like metal, without any human emotion. Klinsmann felt a chill in his heart when he thought of how terrible that person was. He begged in a trembling voice, Master, I was wrong this time. Please forgive me this time for the sake of the organization. The voice on the other side of the phone said, save your life first. Now the organization is in need of money. You should immediately resume the production of Angel Pharmaceutical. If the capital chain is broken, I'll make you suffer. Master, I'll work hard. Although it was on the other side of the phone, Klinsmann still felt great pressure. He was sweating all over and even his clothes were soaked. I'm warning you again. Now is not the time to kill Qin Haodong. When the time is right, I'll send someone to kill him. After that, the voice on the other side of the phone hung up with a snap. In the police station, Qin Haodong put down his phone and said to Carter, Director Carter, thank you for your coffee. I'm leaving. After that, he left the police station while Carter was still in a daze. After getting in the car, Qin Haodong was lost in thought again. This time, it seemed that he had gained the upper hand in the confrontation with Angel Pharmaceutical, but in fact, there was no substantial progress. He still hadn't found the enemy's nest. How could he dig out the nest of Tianchi Pharmaceutical from the ground? It seemed that his own strength was not enough. After hesitating for a moment, he called Donnie Randall again. In the face of the alien demons, he chose to believe in Donnie Randall. Qin, why did you call me so soon? What's the matter? There's something important I want to discuss with you. It was the first time that Donnie Randall had seen Qin Haodong so serious. She immediately became nervous and asked, what's the matter? Have you heard of the alien demons? The alien demons? Donnie Randall shook her head. Although the deep web was very powerful, she didn't have any information about the alien demons. Qin Haodong told her everything about the alien demons from beginning to end. At the end, he said, Angel Pharmaceutical is the minions of the alien demons. Now I want to uproot them, but it's a pity that I can't find where their nest is hidden. Now I need the power of the deep web to help me find them as soon as possible. No problem. I'll assign the task to them now. Donnie Randall had no doubt about Qin Haodong's words. It was a matter of life and death for the human race, so she agreed without hesitation. After handing over the task of finding the headquarters of the Angel Group to the Deep Web, Qin Haodong returned to Lincoln Center to watch the model performance of the Fashion Week here. In the evening, he returned home with Shiyumi. After dinner, he asked her about the branch of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company, but Shiyumi was good at clothing and didn't know much about the pharmaceutical industry. Qin Haodong thought that Huang Mingzhi and his disciple should know more about this kind of thing, so he drove directly to Chinatown. At night, Chinatown was brightly lit. Most of the businesses here lived in their shops. At this time, they were not closed yet. It looked as prosperous as it was during the day. Qin Haodong came to Tai Traditional Chinese Medicine Shop. Like other businesses, it was not closed, but there were fewer patients than during the day. The old master, Huang Mingzhi, was sitting in an old-fashioned wooden armchair and drinking tea, while Huang Shaoxian was playing mobile games beside him. Seeing Qin Haodong enter the door, the master and his disciple immediately got up to greet him. They were filled with infinite gratitude for this life-saving benefactor. Mr. Qin, you're here. Please have a seat. Shaoxian, make tea. Huang Mingzhi warmly invited Qin Haodong inside. He took out the Dahongpo tea that he was reluctant to drink and gave it to Huang Shaoxian, asking her to make another pot of tea. After sitting down, Qin Haodong went straight to the point. He directly told him about his plan to set up a branch of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company in City N. Then he said, Mr. Huang, you've been in M country for so many years, so you know everything about this place. Do you have any good suggestions on how to get the approval of drugs here? Huang Mingzhi frowned and said, Little Qin, it's really not easy. Our investment in M country is going smoothly, but it's difficult to enter the traditional Chinese medicine industry. The approval of drugs in M country is in the hands of the Food and Drug Administration, and the director here, Ba Siteng, is a person who doesn't accept traditional Chinese medicine. It's almost impossible for him to approve the procedures for you. Qin Haodong said, Is there any other way? For example, which big consortium can help us? If possible, he was ready to ask the Maldini family to solve this matter. But Huang Mingzhi shook his head and said, As far as I know, Ba Siteng is a very stubborn and upright man. He doesn't accept any gifts or give in to power. I'm afraid that even the president can't help us. Qin Haodong also frowned. He had no scruples about taking action against Angel Pharmaceutical, but he couldn't do anything to such a stubborn and upright man. Old mister, is there no other way to think of? Huang Mingzhi said, Unless you can persuade Ba Siteng, there is no other way. While they were talking, there was a noise outside, and then a dozen people ran in, covered in blood. These people were all strong young men. They were carrying 2 stretchers and hurried into Tai Traditional Chinese Medicine Clinic. Grandpa Huang, please take a look at my brother. He's injured. After entering the door, a young man with blood still dripping from his shoulder shouted. Qin Haodong glanced at these people. They were all injured, obviously by swords and knives. It seemed that there had just been a fight. Especially the 2 people lying on the stretchers. One of them had both legs broken. At this time, his face was full of pain, but he was tough and didn't make a sound. The other young man had fallen into a coma. His sternum had collapsed, and his left arm was broken in 2. It seemed that he was in danger. Huang Mingzhi suddenly stood up and shouted, How did Tang Hu and Tang Biao get so badly injured? He turned to the young man with the injured arm and asked, Lu Feng, what the hell is going on? Lu Feng said, Grandpa Huang, we just fought with the Dragon Subduing Society. We didn't know that they had masters. Tang Hu and Tang Biao were injured. Don't worry. Hurry up and put them on the bed. I'll take a look at their injuries. After Huang Mingzhi finished speaking, several people hurriedly put the severely injured person on the bed in the clinic. But at this time, more than a dozen people came in from outside the door, led by a black man about 2 meters tall. He glanced at the people in the clinic and said arrogantly, "Let's see who dares to treat him. Bolton, how dare you chase us to our Chinatown?" Lu Feng said and pulled out a dagger with his intact arm. He pointed at the black man and shouted, "Brothers, let's fight with these foreign devils." Although the people behind him were injured, their momentum was not weak at all. After a response, they rushed forward to fight. "Wait a minute, don't be impulsive." Huang Mingzhi hurriedly stopped Lu Feng. All of them were injured. If they fought now, they would be at a disadvantage. Chapter 8:17. He said to the big black man, "This is a clinic, not a place to make trouble. Please get out." The big black man said, "Old man, let me tell you, we are from the Dragon Subduing Society. These people were injured by me. Now hand over these people immediately, or I will tear down your clinic immediately." Huang Mingzhi stared at him and said, "They are my compatriots and my patients. I will never hand them over to you. You bastards, get out of here." The big black man smiled coldly and said, "You don't know what's good for you. It seems that I have to teach you a lesson." After that, he waved his hand to his men behind him and said, "Smash this place and take these people away." After receiving the order from the big man, these people immediately rushed up to fight. Lu Feng and the others also clenched the weapons in their hands, seeing that a fight was about to begin. At this moment, a cold voice sounded, "The old man told you to get out of here. Didn't you hear him?" Qin Haodong stepped in front of the big black man and protected Huang Mingzhi, Lu Feng and others behind him. "Little Qin, can you do it?" Huang Mingzhi said worriedly. Although Qin Haodong rescued him from the underground base, he did not see Qin Haodong fight, so he was a little uncertain. Qin Haodong smiled at him and said, "Old man, don't worry. We Huaxia people don't care about this kind of foreign devil at all." The big black man looked down at Qin Haodong and said disdainfully, "You don't know what's good for you. You are looking for death." Then he waved his huge fist and hit Qin Haodong's face. This guy had fought in underground boxing before, so his skill was really not ordinary. This punch carried a strong wind and was full of momentum. A sneer appeared at the corner of Qin Haodong's mouth. He raised his hand and punched out as well. 2 fists, one big and one small, collided. There was a cracking sound of bones, and then the big black man let out a murderous howl. His huge fist was smashed by the punch. "Ah!" The big black man held his injured arm and shouted to the people behind him, kill him quickly." Upon receiving the order, the people behind him immediately drew out weapons of different lengths and rushed toward Qin Haodong. 2 of them even took out 2 pistols from their waists. Lu Feng stood behind Qin Haodong and raised the dagger in his hand. He shouted and was about to rush forward to help, but before he could take 2 steps, he saw Qin Haodong punching and kicking. In the blink of an eye, these people were all sent flying. Before the 2 gunmen could raise their pistols, Qin Haodong had already appeared in front of them like a ghost. He raised his hand and crushed their wrists. The pistols fell to the ground with a clatter. Seeing that he had encountered a master, the black man's eyes flashed with resentment. He said to his men, "Let's go." The injured men got up from the ground and were about to run, but Qin Haodong's figure flashed and blocked their way. "Did I say you could leave?" The black man covered his injured arm and shouted fiercely, "What else do you want? Let me tell you, our Dragon Subduing Society is not something you can afford to offend." Qin Haodong said coldly, "Just now the old man told you to get out, so you have to get out." Behind the black man, a tattooed gangster shouted, "Boy, don't go too far, if you annoy us." But before he finished speaking, a huge foot appeared in front of him, and then he was kicked to the ground. Qin Haodong stepped up, raised his leg and stepped on the tattooed gangster's calf. There was another burst of bone-cracking sound, and the gangster's heart-wrenching scream resounded through the whole street. I'll give you two choices, either get out, or be like him. Seeing that Qin Haodong's means were so cruel, fear flashed in the black man's eyes. At that moment, he didn't care about his face anymore. He immediately fell to the ground and rolled out of the door. Seeing that their boss had rolled away, the other punks didn't dare to hesitate. They followed him and rolled out of the door, including the tattooed punk whose leg had been trampled. He endured the pain and rolled out of the door. Then, he was supported by the others and ran away quickly. At this time, a lot of Huaxia people gathered outside the Tai traditional Chinese medicine shop to watch the fun. When they saw this scene, they cheered and applauded warmly. Lu Feng put away the knife, walked to Qin Haodong and bowed deeply. Little brother, I didn't expect you to be so good at martial arts. Thank you so much. We are all Huaxia people. There is no need to be polite. Qin Haodong said, look at the injuries of the injured. Only then did Huang Mingzhi recover from the shock. He went to the bedside and felt the pulse of the young man named Tang Hu. Then, he cut open the clothes on his chest and saw a huge palm print on his chest. Even his sternum had been beaten to the point that it had collapsed. He couldn't help frowning at such a serious injury. Lu Feng asked, Grandpa Huang, how is my brother's injury? Huang Mingzhi said, Tang Hu's injury is too serious. His sternum has collapsed and his internal organs have been hurt. There is nothing I can do. Let's send him to the hospital for treatment. Hearing this, Lu Feng immediately became nervous. Grandpa Huang, my brother doesn't have the identity here. He can't go to the big hospital at all. Please think of a way to save him. Huang Mingzhi sighed and said, we are all descendants of Huaxia and China. If I can do it, how can I not save him? It's a pity that the injury is too serious. I really can't do anything. Lu Feng's eyes flashed with despair, and some of the brothers behind him even began to sob. Don't worry, I can save him. Qin Haodong stepped over. He was not in a hurry before. After all, this was Huang Mingzhi's clinic. It was not appropriate for him to treat the patient first. But now Huang Mingzhi had no choice but to do it himself. Huang Mingzhi's eyes flashed with worry. Little Qin, are you sure you can do it? Although he knew that Qin Haodong was going to build a traditional Chinese medicine factory in N City, he didn't know that he was the famous medical sage. So in his opinion, even if Qin Haodong had some medical skills, he couldn't compare with an old Chinese medicine practitioner like him. Tang Hu's injury was so serious that even he couldn't do anything about it. How could this young man cure him? But Lu Feng didn't think so. Hearing Qin Haodong say that he could cure him, a glimmer of hope flashed in his eyes, which had been full of despair. Nearly half of the Chinese people in Chinatown were smuggled here. Their identities here couldn't be seen, they couldn't see the police, and they couldn't go to the big hospitals that cost a lot of money. Now even Huang Mingzhi, who had excellent medical skills, couldn't do anything about it. The young man in front of them was their only hope. Little brother, can you really cure my big brother's injury? Qin Haodong nodded and said, it can be cured for now, but it won't work in a while. Lu Feng knelt on the ground with a plop and said, little brother, as long as you cure my big brother, our lives will be yours in the future. The others also knelt on the ground and asked Qin Haodong with cupped fists. Get up, all of you. Your lives are useless to me. Don't affect my treatment of the patient. After Qin Haodong said that, he came to the bedside and first checked the pulse. Zhang Hu's injury was indeed very serious. His chest was hit by a master, and a large area of his sternum collapsed. Although the heart and lungs were not pierced, this kind of collapse and compression had caused the heart and lungs to be dislocated, and the internal organs to bleed a lot. With this kind of injury, even if he was sent to a big hospital, there was little hope of saving him. Tang Hu was not fated to meet Qin Haodong. After confirming the injury, he began to treat Tang Hu's injury. First, he used Bodhi's hand to restore the collapsed sternum bit by bit. The people around stood by and watched quietly. They didn't even dare to make a sound for fear of affecting Qin Haodong's treatment. In the beginning, Lu Feng looked at him and waved his hands in the air. He didn't know what kind of treatment this was. Then he was surprised to find that Tang Hu's collapsed chest slowly bulged up and finally returned to normal. Others were also very surprised. They didn't know traditional Chinese medicine, let alone what Bodhi's hand was. They all marveled at the weirdness of this treatment. But Huang Mingzhi was an expert. After a short period of astonishment, he said excitedly, "Little Qin, is this the legendary Bodhi's hand?" "Yes, this is Bodhi's hand." Qin Haodong first used Bodhi's hand to straighten the broken bones, and then slowly restored the dislocated heart and internal organs. After getting a positive answer, Huang Mingzhi shouted excitedly, "I didn't expect that I could see this kind of magic in my life." Qin Haodong had no time to be distracted. He took out the needle bag and pierced more than 20 silver needles into the big acupoints on Tang Hu's chest. He used green wood genuine qi to help him promote blood circulation and remove blood stasis. After doing all this, he breathed a sigh of relief. Then he reached out and grabbed Tang Hu's broken arm. He pulled and loosened it, and the broken bones were set with a click. "Oh my God, this is amazing. Is there such a bone-setting technique?" Huang Mingzhi just calmed down a little, and immediately became excited again. This was the first time he had seen this kind of bone-setting technique in his life. At this time, Lu Feng came over and asked with concern, "Little brother, how is my big brother's injury?" Qin Haodong said, "No problem. He will recover in 20 minutes. "What? Little brother, did I hear wrong?" Lu Feng couldn't believe his ears. Tang Hu's injury was so serious that even Huang Mingzhi was helpless. How could he recover so quickly? "You didn't hear wrong. In 20 minutes, you will be a vigorous and lively boss." After Qin Haodong finished speaking, he didn't stay idle. He turned around and came to another young man on a stretcher. This young man was called Tang Biao, Tang Hu's younger brother. In the fight just now, his legs were broken at the knees by the other party, and they were all in a V shape. However, his big brother was in danger, so he had been enduring this bone-piercing pain and didn't make a sound. "Bear with it. It will be fine soon." Qin Haodong grabbed Tang Hu's broken left leg, pulled and loosened it again. After a click, the broken bones were reconnected, followed by the right leg. In less than 2 minutes, both broken legs were restored. You can walk on the ground, but don't use force within 3 days, and don't fight with others. You will completely recover in half a month. Huang Mingzhi's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, "Little Qin, what kind of bone-setting technique is this? Can you teach it to me?" Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "Old man, it's not that I don't want to teach it, but this kind of bone-setting technique can't be learned without internal strength." His bone-setting technique seemed extremely simple, but in fact, it was extremely difficult. He had to scan with his spirit to ensure that the broken bones were connected correctly. At the same time, he had to put a green wood genuine qi in the broken bones to promote the healing of the wounds. These two things were indispensable, so no one in the world could use this bone-setting technique except him. Huang Mingzhi sighed with a look of regret, but he also knew that this kind of magic was not something that everyone could learn. Then Qin Haodong finished treating all the wounds of Lu Feng and others. Looking at the time, almost 20 minutes had passed. He came to Tang Hu's bedside again, took back all the silver needles, helped him lie on the bedside, and asked Huang Shaoxian to take a wash basin. Then, he slapped Tang Hu's back. Tang Hu spat out a large mouthful of blood into the wash basin, and then slowly opened his eyes. Chapter 8:18. After Tang Hu woke up, he got out of bed and felt his body. There was nothing different than before he was injured. "Thank you, Grandpa Su. You must have saved me," Tang Hu said and bowed deeply to Su Mingzhi. Su Mingzhi quickly said, Tang Hu, you're wrong. I don't have this ability. It was little Qin who saved your life. As he spoke, he also admired Qin Haodong greatly. He hadn't expected that the injury he had been unable to cure would be completely cured in less than half an hour in front of Qin Haodong. Tang Biao also said, yes, big brother, it was this little magic doctor who saved us. Not only your injury, but also the injuries of our brothers, he has also cured them. Tang Hu looked at Qin Haodong and was slightly surprised. However, he immediately bowed and said, little magic doctor, thank you for saving my life. May I know your name? I'm Qin Haodong. Su Mingzhi had known his name before, but he had never cared about it. Now that he heard his name again, his heart suddenly moved. He asked excitedly, little Qin, I recently heard that there is a new medical sage in Huaxia. His medical skills are superb. He invented a kind of elixir called the blood revival elixir, which can cure leukemia. Is it you? Qin Haodong nodded slightly. Yes, it's me. I just said that the traditional Chinese medicine factory I want to build is to produce the blood revival elixir. Su Mingzhi said excitedly, it turns out that the medical sage is here. No wonder his medical skills are so great. After everyone got to know each other, Tang Biao said, brother medical sage, you just hurt the people of the Dragon Subduing Society. They will definitely come for revenge later. You should leave quickly. Of course, Qin Haodong couldn't leave. If he did, the Taiyi Traditional Chinese Medicine Guild would suffer. He asked, what's wrong with those people? Why did you have a conflict with them? Tang Hu sighed and said, brother medical sage, you can tell from the name of their gang that they are targeting the Huaxia people in M country. We have always claimed to be the descendants of the dragon, but they directly named themselves the Dragon Subduing Society in order to bully the Huaxia people here. Half a month ago, a man named Lei Fu suddenly appeared in N City and set up the Dragon Subduing Society to collect protection fees from every shop in Chinatown. We Chinese who came to a foreign country are naturally unwilling to be bullied by them, so I led the establishment of the Yan Huang Brothers Alliance, the purpose of which is to fight against the Dragon Subduing Society that oppresses the Chinese. But Lo's men are too powerful. Before we even saw him make a move, we were already losing ground. Today, I almost died at the hands of one of his subordinates, Chekhov. Lu Feng also said, yes, I don't know how those foreign devils train, but they are really powerful. Tang Biao said, brother medical sage, why don't you stay in Chinatown and join our Yanhuang Brotherhood Alliance? With your skills, we won't be afraid of those foreign devils. Qin Haodong looked at Tang Hu. He was obviously a warrior and had reached the 9th level of overt power. Judging from your cultivation, you should be considered an expert among ordinary people. Why did you lose so badly? Could it be that they are all martial artists? Tang Hu said, I practiced with my grandfather since I was a child. Although I didn't step into the threshold of covert power, I was also at the 9th level of overt power. Originally, I also thought that it would not be a problem to deal with those foreign devils, but that Chekhov was obviously not a martial artist, and he didn't have any moves to speak of, but his strength was so great and his body's defense was amazing. With my ability, I couldn't hurt him at all, so I lost so badly. Qin Haodong said, is he practicing external martial arts? Tang Hu shook his head and said, I have seen external martial arts masters, but they more or less have the aura of a martial artist. That Chekhov didn't have any aura in this regard. He looked like a powerful beast. Qin Haodong didn't know what was going on with the other party without seeing the real person. However, as a Chinese, he naturally didn't want to see his compatriots being bullied. Tang Hu said again, brother medical sage, if you are willing to join our Yanhuang Brotherhood Alliance, I will give you the position of the boss. Qin Haodong waved his hand and said, I'm just a doctor. I'm not interested in these things. Seeing him refuse, a look of disappointment flashed across the faces of Tang Hu and the others. Qin Haodong looked at them and said, Tang Hu, Tang Biao, you should have touched the threshold of covert power. Lu Feng has also reached the 8th level of overt power, right? Tang Hu nodded and said, brother medical sage, you really have sharp eyes. We are indeed at this level. It's a pity that we can't break through the bottleneck of covert power. Otherwise, we will be able to deal with that Chekhov. Qin Haodong said, although I can't join you, I can help you improve your cultivation and break through to above covert power. Then you will have the ability to protect yourself. If this was said by someone else, Tang Hu and the others would have disdained it. However, the skills and medical skills that Qin Haodong had just shown were so amazing that they immediately cried out in surprise, really, brother medical sage, I thank you on behalf of our Chinese compatriots in Chinatown. Tang Biao said, brother medical sage, do you need us to do anything? Do you want to find a quiet room? You don't need to do anything. Just take this pill and sit down, Wang Yao said. Qin Haodong said as he took out 3 spirit culturing pills and gave one to Tang Hu, Tang Biao, and Lu Feng. The 3 of them took the pills and threw them into their mouths without hesitation. Then they sat cross-legged on the ground. You don't have to worry about anything. Just focus on running your cultivation and breaking through the bottleneck. Under Qin Haodong's instructions, the 3 of them began to run their internal qi with all their strength. With Qin Haodong's current cultivation at the early stage of Yuanying realm, it was like playing a game to help 3 overt power warriors break through. He just reached out and patted the top of the 3 people's heads. The green with genuine qi catalyzed the efficacy of the spirit culturing pill and instantly broke through the bottleneck of covert power. The 3 of them were overjoyed. They didn't expect that they could break through the threshold of covert power in just a few minutes after working hard for many years. Lu Feng was the happiest. His cultivation aptitude was not good. He didn't even reach the 9th level of overt power. Now he directly advanced from the 8th level of overt power to the level of covert power. What surprised them most was that the genuine qi in their bodies was getting stronger and stronger. After breaking through the threshold of covert power, it didn't stop but continued to move forward. In the end, Tang Hu and Tang Biao stayed at the 3rd level of covert power, and Lu Feng also reached the 2nd level of covert power. Qin Haodong was afraid that their foundation was unstable, so he didn't take them to continue to break through. After stabilizing their cultivation, the 3 of them jumped up from the ground and knelt in front of Qin Haodong. Master, please accept my worship. Although they knew that Qin Haodong was very powerful, they didn't expect him to be so powerful. In just a dozen minutes, he had led them to break through several levels. They would be fools if they didn't acknowledge such a master as their master. Huang Mingzhe and Huang Shaoxian were stunned. As people of Chinatown, they knew very well how unruly Tang Hu and others were. The 3 brothers usually thought highly of themselves and never put others in their eyes. Now they knelt together in front of Qin Haodong to worship him as a master, which refreshed their understanding of Qin Haodong again. Of course, Qin Haodong wouldn't accept these people as apprentices. He gently waved his hand, and an invisible force dragged them up. I'm just helping you out because we're all compatriots. Forget about the matter of taking in disciples. Tang Hu and others were disappointed, but they still kowtowed 3 times on the ground, and then stood up. At this moment, there was a burst of footsteps at the door, and a tall yellow-haired gangster came in. The yellow-haired gangster was a white man, dressed like a hippie, and his face was full of arrogance. After entering the door, he shouted to the people in the room, I'm from the Dragon Subduing Society. Who hurt our people just now? At this time, Tang Hu's cultivation was improved, and he was ready to vent his anger. When he heard that it was the Dragon Subduing Society, he immediately went forward to make a move. Qin Haodong reached out and stopped Tang Hu. He had already seen that although this little gangster's tone was very big, he was at best an errand boy. There was no need to fight with him at all. He said, I did it. What's the matter? The little gangster glanced at Qin Haodong. Seeing his thin arms and legs, the disdain in his eyes was even more intense. I'm here to issue a challenge. Just now, our boss Chekhov said that he will meet you in the Black Forest in an hour. If you don't dare to go, then Chinatown will be the unlucky one. At that time, our boss will get angry and kill you all. Qin Haodong said faintly, go back and tell your boss that I must go to the Black Forest in an hour. You'd better prepare for your funeral. The little gangster was obviously full of confidence in his boss and left triumphantly. After he left, Tang Hu immediately said to Qin Haodong, boss, take us with you. To deal with that Chekhov, you don't need to do anything now. Us brothers are enough. After improving his cultivation, he had unconsciously changed the way he addressed Qin Haodong to boss, and he was now full of confidence. He felt that even if Qin Haodong didn't do anything, he could beat Chekhov. Well, let's go together. Hearing that Qin Haodong was willing to take them with him, Tang Hu and the others were elated. Tang Biao ran out of the door and quickly drove an off-road vehicle over. They got in the car and drove straight out of the city. The Black Forest was located 50 kilometers away from the outskirts of N City. The bustling metropolis could no longer be seen here, and it was surrounded by dense woods. However, the night was particularly good tonight, and the full moon in the sky clearly illuminated the forest. When Qin Haodong and the others arrived, a tall white strong man was already waiting there. He was wearing a tight t-shirt, and his abnormally developed muscles were bulging. He was Chekhov, the vice president of the Dragon Subduing Society. Chekhov was stunned when he saw Tang Hu and Tang Biao, who were full of energy. He was the one who injured Tang Hu, and he also kicked Tang Biao's legs, so he was very clear about their injuries. He knew very well how heavy his palm was. Even if Tang Hu didn't die, he should only be half dead. Why did it seem that not only was he not injured, but he was even more energetic? After the shock, he immediately regained his calmness and looked at Qin Haodong, who was surrounded by several people in the middle. This young man looked gentle and weak, not even as strong as Tang Hu and the others, but he gave him a great sense of danger. While he was looking at Qin Haodong also glanced at him. This guy was indeed not a warrior, but his body was extremely strong, and he also had a beastly aura. Chekhov said, boy, did you hurt the people of our Dragon Subduing Society? Qin Haodong said indifferently, yes. A fierce look flashed across Chekhov's face. Shameless Chinese boy, how dare you touch the people of our Dragon Subduing Society? I will make you pay the price today. Before Qin Haodong could speak, Tang Hu was the first to jump out. Boss, leave this kid to me. I will definitely beat him until his teeth fall out. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.